Oh, can you hear me now? Yeah. Hey, so happy Valentine's Day, everyone, for tomorrow, I guess, but I guess also tonight. It's Valentine's weekend after all. So we're here, we're in my kitchen, we're live, it's working. I'm sorry about the YouTube thing. Basically, YouTube really stitched us up. I think they haven't got enough like tech wizards in Silicon Valley kind of making it all work. So so it kind of stitched us up a little bit. So sorry about that. But we are here, we're on Facebook Live, and we are live. So hopefully you can hear and see me, and if you can, just give us a little thumbs up. We're probably just going to like hang around for a little bit because I reckon there's going to be a few stragglers who are kind of trying to refresh the YouTube page or whatever, like 60 times. So hopefully you're there. Are we getting any thumbs up or comments or anything?
We are not at the moment.
Okay, fine.
There is 50 people watching.
Cool. So I reckon I'll wait till it gets. So we've got like 15 people at the moment, but I'm gonna wait for a little while till it gets to like I don't know. Like, I mean, I think there should be kind of 30 people joining us tonight, but it might. I reckon we'll get started sort of in about 10 minutes or something like that. So make sure you get yourself a drink. I have.
Just a heads up, it has paused at the moment.
Okay.
We're down to 0 on the upload. Trying to find if there's anything else.
What is it? As in the internet paused it?
Yeah. Okay, it's coming back.
Cool. Oh, brilliant. Hopefully you've got me back again. Sorry, we had a few technical glitches last night. We thought we'd iron them out, but like I said, yeah, YouTube kind of stitched us up, and my home internet router stitched us up, and I thought I'd fix it. I did like a little extender thing, but we'll see. Hopefully it'll work. Do let me know if anything cuts out, and I will like recap on whatever we've gone over.
You mentioned about it. If they want to comment on the live comments, I can always feed it back.
Yeah. So make sure you sort of comment live and give us a few like thumbs up and all that sort of stuff. The other thing is, it'd be really cool if people took some pictures of what they're doing. And if you do that, just whether it be sort of Instagram or Facebook or whatever, just hashtag us, which is the hashtag is WS Valentines. So that's it, all one word. Nice. You can probably hear I've got my fan running because my kitchen's freezing. You'll probably see me shivering. I haven't got any heating in here at the moment. So my oven's already on. If you want to get your oven on as well, you will need it on. So stick it on at about 160 degrees. So if you've got a fan oven, 160, maybe like 155 degrees, it's about right. If it's not a fan oven, 160. If you've got a gas oven, sort of gas mark 4, something like that, just under maybe. I guess like sort of, yeah, gas mark 3 3/4. Is that a gas mark? It is now. Cool. So yeah, like I say, make sure you've got yourself a drink. I've got plenty floating around. It's quite exciting this because I've got to make the cocktails. I've got quite a lot of the sort of booze floating about. I managed to get through a fair bit last night, but you know, it's all lubrication, isn't it? And it is Valentine's Day. So yeah, I'm just going to wait for a few more people to join. How many people have we got at the moment?
14.
Wicked.
So Jack Thistleton was just saying it's a bit laggy for him, but
is it?
We're working on it. It seems to be getting faster to send.
Sorry about the lagginess. I'll try and. Do you know what I might do? I might take my phone off the Wi-Fi. That might help. There we go. And yeah, hopefully we'll kind of catch up, and you'll get me kind of in a non-jittery, laggy version. That'd be good. But yeah, it is my home internet, which is quite annoying. So we're in the kitchen, the router's at the front of the house, so you know, you do the maths. But yeah, so we'll just run through the menu actually while you guys are here. So your starter is going to be, well, you're going to get a champagne classic cocktail, which is like one of my favourite cocktails ever. We're going to do a champagne classic. It's so simple and so delicious. And then the starter is like a sort of semi-cured sea bream. Well, if you bought your own ingredients, you might have got a slightly different fish, but it will still kind of, it will still cure the same, and you'll get the same sort of thing. So the semi-cured sea bream with blood orange and fennel and this really beautiful seaweed seasoning that I'm going to teach you to make. And then the main course, obviously, is steak, so sirloin steaks with celeriac fondant, some roasted leek, and a really nice little horseradish creme fraiche. And then we're going to have a little palate cleanser, which should be a green tea and lime granita. So make sure you've got a bit of space in your freezer. Now's a good time to clear a little space out of one of the shelves in your freezer. God knows mine's pretty jam-packed. Last night we were sort of moving potato waffles around. So the other thing I should say is and for dessert, don't forget, we're going to make a flourless chocolate cake with brandy chantilly cream and toasted almonds. And excuse me. The other thing I should say is, obviously we're doing this from my home kitchen, so I've purposefully not brought any of my equipment from the restaurant. So I should have roughly the same kind of stuff that you've got. But there are a few things that might have escaped my equipment list that you would have got sent. So make sure you've got a clean tea towel. Make sure you've got access to your kettle. What else do you need? Some scales will be useful. It's not essential because we can kind of busk it. If you kind of message me, I can help you along with that. But some kitchen scales, some nice big mixing bowls. I think I put down 3 mixing bowls, but you're going to need at least 3 mixing bowls, especially one that's heat proof. That's really important. Some baking trays. Make sure you've got like all your baking trays and roasting dishes that you've got. Make sure you've got good either like a roasting tray or a cake tin for your cake. You can use a round one or a square one, whatever. We'll kind of go through what to do for both. What else? The pan to cook the steak. I totally forgot to put that on the equipment list. So you're going to need like a good frying pan that like you're happy to get up to proper high heat, or a skillet, something like that. So that would be awesome. What else? Maybe like something else that will go in the oven. So when we put the cake in, it'd be really good to get something else in the oven that we're going to put a bit of water in, because that will just put some steam into the oven, which will kind of help the cake stay at an even temperature. Also, if you didn't get a kit from us, I probably didn't put this down on the ingredients list, but it'd be useful to have some garlic and some thyme or some rosemary, and that can be dried, it doesn't matter, but like some kind of aromats, or if you've got a stock cube, that's also a useful thing to have when we come to see the Celeriac fondants. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Make sure you've got champagne in the fridge as well. Now's a very good time to get that chilled. Have we got any comments or?
For people asking to speak up, I've changed the microphone
okay.
This level, so I don't know if it might fix that.
Yeah.
They want to.
Is it better now? Can you hear me? Test. 1, 2. Yeah, hopefully you'll be able to hear me now. I do talk quite loudly, so I don't think it's me speaking. It probably is just this microphone. It isn't a bit of a weird place. Shall I move it to the pocket?
Yeah, try it out.
Yeah?
See if it makes a difference.
So sorry about this crackling and horrible noises.
Ricky says it sounds better, so I think we're right.
Ricky? There we go, look. And I've even unzipped my shirt a little bit. It's Valentine's Day. Right, so how many people have we got viewing at the moment?
Currently at 19.
Okay, fine. So I'm going to leave it like, what's the time? Leave it another couple of minutes. I'm just going to check what this message is. Hi, thanks for your message. We're away at the moment. What? Huh? Is there? We're live again tonight. Should we watch the replay? Oh, sorry. Hi, Claire. I don't. That's weird. I'm just going to message Claire because she's trying to. Live on Facebook now. Cool. So hopefully, oh, that's really weird. Oh, like Facebook Messenger just is sending these really weird messages out. I don't know what's going on. But okay, let's have a look. So we've got a few people on. Sweet. Lots better. Pleasantly audible. Sounds delicious. Yes. Sounds better. Yes. Can't wait for you guys to open again. Can you speak up, please? I'm doing my jolly best. Yeah, so I think we're just about there. So we'll maybe just wait for Claire, because I think Claire's trying to kind of access it at the moment. So hopefully they'll work it out. I'll just double check there. So thanks everyone so much, by the way, for doing this. Like, it's pretty cool. It's quite exciting. I've got people kind of all over the country today doing it. So there's like a few people in London and Bristol, joining us. I was kind of hoping there might be some sort of like national, what's the word, like worldwide kind of aspect to it. But there's, as far as I know, there's no one from like further afield than Great Britain. But like it's quite. I think it's quite a cool thing to have like a. Here we go. Thanks so much. We've got the list. We'll join tomorrow. Oh, cool. Yeah. So the recording from tonight is going to go up. I think the recording from tonight hopefully will be better than last night. Last night was good, but we started a bit late because of these technical issues, so it got a little bit hectic. But how many people we got on now?
14.
14?
It's kind of going up and down.
Oh no, we've lost people. Well, I think to be honest with you, it's getting to the point where we should start. What's the time? So it's 1:15. Maybe leave it a couple of minutes. You know, have a little drink, get a little bit lubricated, get ready, and hopefully we'll get the sort of stragglers to kind of join us. Oh. Yeah. If anyone's just joined us, we're going to be doing the full menu, which you should have received and you should know. So we're doing the semi-cured bream with blood orange and seaweed. We've got the steaks, which are going to be served with Solera fondant, roasted leek, and horseradish creme fraiche. Then a little palate cleanser of a green tea granita, and the dessert, which is the flourless chocolate cake with brandy chantilly cream and toasted almonds. If you've just joined us, stick your oven on now at about 160 degrees, sort of like gas mark 4-ish, just under. But yeah, stick that on. I mean, I've had mine for ages because my kitchen's got no heating, so it's quite nice to just get a little blast out of the oven now and again. Warm the cockles and all that. So yeah, how are we doing?
We're good.
Yeah?
We're good, yeah. Sorry, just another person mentioning the
sound.
It's more the video.
Is the video lagging a little bit?
It lags a bit, it comes in and out on quality wise.
I could probably ask them to get off the internet.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I'm just going to nip off for a second. I'm just going to ask Alice to take her phone off the internet. Sorry about that. Is that any better?
Yeah, it seems better. It's hard to kind of tell. I can see how it's doing, and it sometimes drops down to 0. Most of the times it's good.
Okay. Well, hopefully you've got us, and hopefully these technical issues aren't too much for you. Can people hear me? Yeah.
They can hear you. Yeah.
Cool. How many people we got viewing?
We are now on 22, going up.
Fine. In that case, let's start because I think we're kind of just about there. And if people are if people like just join us, then just let me know or let us know through the comments or whatever, and I can recap whatever. But for now, we're going to make a start because I think it's time. So make sure you've got a full glass. Mine's pretty much there. Make sure you've got an empty kind of space in your freezer that will fit like a Tupperware or a baking tray. Make sure your oven is on at about 160 degrees. And we'll make a start. So the first thing we're going to do is the granita because it's going to take a little while to kind of freeze. So you're going to need about 500 mils of water in your kettle. So stick that onto boil. That's the first thing.
So we've got some people joining from Edinburgh.
No way!
Shout out to Lucy, Gaunt and Alan, or Gaunt.
So we are international. We've got people in Edinburgh. That's flipping awesome. Hi. So stick your kettle on. You need about 500 mils of water in there, and let's just get all the equipment we're going to need out just for this specific job. So you're going to need a measuring jug. I think I forgot to mention that, but a measuring jug. Like if you haven't got a measuring jug, a standard mug is about 250 mils, so it's 2 mugs. You're going to need a spoon and a lemon squeezer, and either like a baking tray or a Tupperware. So I'm just going to grab my bits. So got a measuring jug here and a tablespoon. lemon squeezer, and I'm going to use this like kind of weird looking kind of metal lunchboxy thing. So basically, the kind of metal will conduct the cold through your granita a little bit quicker. So if you've got something metal, that'd be good. Mine's a little bit smaller than I would like, so I'm probably not going to put the entire granita mix in it. I mean, really, you only need about half of it, but you'll have a granita in your freezer, so make the whole thing if you so desire. So you can use a bigger one; it's up to you. I've got two different lemon squeezes. I'm going to dash one of these actually. There we go. So my kettle's boiled. So let's get our ingredients out. So you're going to need your tea bag. So if you bought the kit from us, there'll be a little kind of paper bag with 3 green tea bags. They're like Sencha green tea, made by Hannah Sells in Norwich, who just makes like amazing organic handmade teas with these biodegradable tea bags. And they're just really flipping good, and they're cheaper than Twinings or whatever. And you're going to need 2 of your limes. So the other thing I forgot to mention is, cool, I've got this really blunt knife, but I'm going to use it because you guys might have a blunt knife as well. So grab your chopping board out and a knife, because we're just going to chop those limes in half. So I'm going to dig out my ingredients from my ingredients bag. So I've got 2 of the limes, and from the other bag we've got the tea bags here, and that's it, isn't it? Brilliant. So in your measuring jug or mug or whatever, stick the tea bags in. Oh, the other thing you're going to need is sugar. I completely forgot to say. So if you bought a bag from us, you'll have 2 different sugars. And that is because I annoyingly couldn't get hold of a like mass of golden caster sugar. So what I've done is I've got you like a demerara and a white caster sugar. It doesn't really matter what you use. I think probably for this, the caster sugar will be a little bit cleaner. It will have like a slightly cleaner flavour. So to start off with, grab your tablespoon and stick 3 tablespoons of your sugar in with your tea bags in the jug. 1, 2, 3. Brilliant. Is everyone with me so far? Let me know if you want me to slow down or kind of speed up or do a dance or have a drink, whatever. So I've got my kettle here. I'm just going to put 500 ml of water in the jug. And just give that a little muddle around. And what we're aiming for is like a nice, like strong tea. But the reason you've got 3 tea bags is because you want it to get strong, but you don't want it to stew, because then you start to get those kind of really bitter tannins. You want a really nice, clean green tea flavour. So we'll let that stew for about 45 seconds to a minute. Meanwhile, this knife is really blunt, but meanwhile, we'll squeeze these limes. So yeah, this is like, I've had this since, I don't know.
Just to confirm, Ricky's asking, it was 3 tea bags. 3
green tea bags. If you've got 2, that's fine. Like 2 or 3 is fine. If you've only got 2, don't worry about it, Ricky. But yeah, so it's green tea going in that jug with the sugar, okay? So we're just going to squeeze 2 limes. Actually, I'll tell you what, I've just realised, because I realised this last night. What's quite nice, before you squeeze those limes, is just cut 2 like nice thin slices out of them, or as many people as you're serving. So cut a couple of slices out of them, because then we can keep those back and use them to garnish the granita when it's ready. So there we go. I've got 2 nice slices out of that, and then we're just going to squeeze these limes.
So did you put any sugar in with the tea?
Yes, absolutely. So 3 tablespoons of white sugar in with the tea. Okay, nice. So we're just going to squeeze those limes, get all the juice you possibly can out of them. squeezed one so far. You can add your juice to, if you've got room in your jug, add it in with the jug. If not, you can stick it straight into your container that you're going to make the granita in. I'm going to stick mine in with the tea. Okay, it's probably about the right amount of time now to take the tea bags out. So like I say, it's sort of 45 seconds to a minute, something like that. And it's probably been about a minute. So I'm going to take mine out, I reckon. I mean, you can probably kind of smell it when it's ready. And obviously it kind of goes a sort of greeny tea colour. Is tea a word? Yes, it is now. Okay. So let's whip those out. And like I say, these are biodegradable tea bags, so they can go straight in your food bin. And as with everything, obviously this is really quite hot, but just give it a little taste. You want it to be sweet, you want to be able to get that lime and obviously taste the green tea as well. Perfect, absolutely perfect. So I'm going to stick mine in there. And what we're going to do, just to help that cool down just a little bit, is take another 100 mils of water, cold water, and stick that in as well. Okay. So that should cool that down a little bit. And then, I'm just going to get rid of that. And then stick it into your freezer. So, like I say, make sure you've got a bit of room in there. Stick it straight into your freezer. I'm going to ask my glamorous assistant to help me. Bottom shelf should be free. There we go, just try and keep it nice and level. So you want that uncovered in the freezer, because what we're looking for is that sort of crystal structure. We're going to keep going back to that sort of every 30 minutes and just scraping it with a fork. Oh, you all right? Cool. And just scraping it with a fork to kind of turn it into the granita. So it's essentially a posh slush puppy. So there we go. So keep your 2 slices of lime that you made aside. I'm just going to grab a little plate for those. So I'm going to pop those to one side and then clean down your workspace. We're going to move on to the next job. So we're going to use the lemon squeezer in a bit, so keep that aside, don't bother washing it up, and stick the rest of the detritus in your food bin. My food bin is back here. And pop your chopping board to one side. Again, we're going to use that pretty soon. I always like to have a tea towel to be able to kind of just wipe down the area. We're going to use these sugars pretty much now, so I'm not going to put them away. So we're going to move on to making our flourless chocolate cake with almonds and chantilly cream. We'll probably do the cream a little bit later, but we're going to do the cake now. So, is everyone with me? Can everyone hear me and all that sort of stuff?
I think everyone's
all good so far? Let us know if there's any issues, or like if you want to ask any questions or anything like that. How many people have we got for you?
You're at 19 at the moment.
Okay, cool, perfect. So we're going to move on to the cake now. So for this, you are going to need your kitchen scales. You're going to need a saucepan that will fit a bowl on top without it kind of sitting in the water. So let me show you what I'm going to use. Here it is. I've got this little pan and a Pyrex bowl that's just going to set over the top like that. And actually, before you put it on the hob, just fill it halfway with water. Like I say, you don't want the water to be touching the bottom of the bowl. You just want the steam to be touching the bottom of the bowl, because that's what we're going to use to melt our chocolate in. Grab a whisk, which hopefully should be on your ingredients list. What else? You're going to need 2 other bowls, which we're going to use to whip up the egg yolks and the egg whites. So if you've got a stand mixer, now's the time to use it. Or if you've got a Maggi Mix, there's like a paddle attachment that will kind of whip. You can use that. I'm going to be using this ancient looking beast, because I guess with all of these things I'm kind of going to go for the sort of lowest common denominator, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to try and use the kind of equipment that you might be using at home. So obviously if you've got a stand mixer, that's the best thing to use for this. But if not, a little electric whisk. I mean, you can do it by hand, but to be honest, you're probably going to end up lagging behind the rest of us a little bit. So the other equipment you're going to need is baking parchment and your cake tin. So you can use a round cake tin or a square one. We're looking for about. All good?
Yeah, just say Jack's saying he's only got 100 grams of chocolate, and Sun Glory is saying you're not drinking as much as they are.
Okay, fine. Well, I mean, I can definitely sort the drinking thing out. I can't necessarily sort the chocolate out. You should hopefully have got a list that said 300 grams of dark chocolate. If you've only got 100 grams, I'm not quite sure what to do. You could try and locate some like milk chocolate or white chocolate in your house. Otherwise, if I tell you what, use 100 grams, and then so this cake recipe is so simple. It's even quantities of butter, chocolate, and sugar. So if you've got 100 grams of chocolate, get 100 grams of butter, 100 grams of sugar. You're going to make a tiny cake, but it will be quite cool. So look for your like smallest cake tin or anything that you can kind of fit in the oven. You can even use a flan dish or something and have like a sort of big flat one. That'd be quite cool. You could cut a beautiful heart shape out of it if you want, Jack. But yeah, as I was saying, so we've got our electric whisk or whatever, and then the other thing is, I want you to get a container, a roasting dish or a flan dish or whatever, even like a saucepan that you can put in the oven, because we're going to put a bit of water in that, and we're going to put it in the oven, and that will keep the oven nice and moist. It will put a bit of steam in the oven. It will stop the cake from getting too kind of crisp on the outside and cooking really evenly. So, but before we do the cake, we're just going to grab a baking tray or a roasting dish, whatever you've got. I'll just use the first one to hand. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be drinking, sorry about that. Yeah. I think it's when I'm drinking I'm not talking, but you know, I guess maybe that's good. Right, so grab a roasting dish, baking tray, whatever. Grab your almonds, so flaked almonds. If you've got a kit from us, they're already kind of ready to go. Like, I mean, they're not exactly weighed out, but this is plenty. And these are really useful. I've got tons of them now. But yeah, keep them, wash them up, don't chuck them away. I mean, you can even bring them back to Woolf and Social if you want. But yeah, so you've got your almonds in there. So while we're making the cake, we're going to toast the almonds. So stick those in one layer in the oven. And yeah, let's do this cake. So stick the water on the hob in your pan, stick that on. But just stick it on don't stick it on maximum heat. Obviously we want that water to be boiling. But if you stick it on too high, it will heat up the sides of the bowl and that might end up burning the chocolate. So we really, really don't want that. So I'm sticking mine on like bang in the middle basically, sort of 5, 6. So
Ricky's just asking how many almonds if you haven't got the kit.
How many almonds? 50 grams is enough. I mean, you don't need that many flaked almonds. So I guess 50 grams, a handful. A handful is probably like the best way I could describe that. Okay, so going back to our bags, we've got the chocolate. So again, if you've got the kit from us, it's already weighed out. But if you haven't, grab your scales, weigh out 300 grams of chocolate, or if you're Jack, 100 grams. And would you mind just passing me out 2 of the butters, please? They're just in the top bit in there. In the door.
You've got a lot of butter in it.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Oh, do you know why I've got so much butter? It's because when I was sending out all the kits today, I've got a feeling I forgot to put butter in someone's kit. So if you're that person, I am so flipping sorry. But I've got your butter in my fridge, and I was sort of hoping someone might get in touch during today and I could sort of whiz it round. But obviously it's too late now, so I'm really sorry. Anyway, so what we're going to do with butter is grab your chopping board. I'm just going to flip mine over and take out 1 whole pat of butter. Like I said, so our pat of butter weighs 250 grams, and we need 300 grams of butter in total. So 300 grams of butter and 300 grams of chocolate. But before you put it in, just put that in a bit. So I'm not even gonna weigh this second one out. So I've got 250 grams there, and I need 50 grams of this one. So I'm just gonna do it by eye. So it's 1/5 of the butter.
Possibly it was Tom Barrett whose butter you've got.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh no, Tom, I'm so sorry. Have you got enough butter? Ask him if he's got enough butter.
You just asked him.
Oh, yeah, I guess I did. I'm so sorry, man. Listen, if you have got some butter, Tom, and you've only got one, oh flip, I feel really bad about this. I mean, you could nip round and grab some. I know you don't live that far away. I've got it in my fridge, so it's up to you. Yeah, if you've got it, I feel really bad about that. Right, anyway, I'm sorry, Tom. Forgive me. I tell you what, if you want, Tom, you can just ignore this bit and get drunk. And oh no, don't get drunk. I was going to say you can have the cake that I make. You can nip round, and I'll leave it outside, and you can come and get it or something like that. But yeah, up to you. I'm really sorry, mate. Anyway, sorry.
Just on that. How much? He's just asking. How much butter will you need in total tonight?
You're going to need 500 grams, so 2 pats of butter. So if you haven't got enough, if you've just got like a bit, save it, because it's probably going to be better to save it for the celeriac fondant and for the steak, because that is essential. However, yeah, I mean, send Sophie out to the shops. Anyway, sorry, so we've got 250 grams of butter here, and we need 50 grams off this, so that's a fifth. So I'm just going to do it by eye. Quite often on pats of butter, it will kind of have it labelled as 50 grams, 50 grams, 50 grams, which is quite useful. But we'll pop the other butter aside, because as I say, we're going to be using it later. And just chop the butter up, it doesn't matter, really roughly, into little cubes or slices, however you want to do it. Okay. So chuck your 300 grams of butter into the bowl that's over the water. Mine's already got some steam on the bottom, so I reckon it's pretty much there. And as I say, you should have your chocolate already weighed out. Is there any resolution for Tom?
No, it's gone quiet.
Oh God, I feel so bad about that, Tom. Okay, chuck that in. And like I say, you can keep these, or if you want, just recycle them, whatever. I've got butter on my hands, so I'm just going to give it a wash. Okie doke, and have a drink. Right, so as I say, if you ordered a kit from us, you would have got a white sugar and a brown sugar. So let's just get that open. What we're going to do is going to weigh at 300 grams. It's going to be half and half. So you've got 150 grams of white and 150 grams of brown. So you should have 2 other bowls. Now I can smell my almonds already. You probably will be able to smell yours as well. We'll just have a quick look. I don't think they're going to be quite ready. No. So just give them a little move around. And just remember to keep half an eye on those. So grab your scales. If you've got scales. If you haven't, you've got 500 grams here, 500 grams here. So 150 grams is just under a third of these. So this cake is pretty it's pretty forgiving. So if you are kind of slightly inaccurate, like I am in all of my cooking, it forgives you basically. So you can kind of, if you put a bit more sugar in, the cake will be a little bit sweeter, but it will still rise. If you add a few more eggs, it will rise a bit more, but be slightly more sort of moussey. And if you add more chocolate, it will just be a bit more chocolatey. You can as long as you stick roughly to the kind of to the quantities, you'll be fine. So I'm just going to weigh out my sugar. So we're going to use both these bowls sorry about that. So we're going to use both these bowls. I'm going to put the egg whites in this one. We're going to separate them in a minute, and the egg yolks in the smaller one. Obviously the egg whites, when you whip them, will rise a lot more. So use the bigger bowl for the egg whites. So stick the scales on. I'll just move it a little forward so you can see. There we go. And we'll do 150 grams of white sugar. Last night I was not concentrating and weighed out about 300 grams of both. There we go. 150 grams of white sugar and 150 grams of demerara. All good. Has Tom said anything yet?
No.
Has he gone out to the shops to buy butter? Okay, so there we go. So we've got 300 grams of sugar in total. And what we're going to do is just muddle those up. So grab a spoon. And just muddle those. Like I said, if you did get golden caster, if you didn't get a kit from us and you bought the ingredients from the ingredients list, you'll have a kilo of golden caster sugar. So just weigh out 300 grams of that. What I'm kind of doing here is recreating a kind of golden caster sugar. It's not obviously not quite the same, but it's pretty damn good. Okay, so we've got 300 grams of sugar in here, and all we're going to do is split this between the two bowls evenly. And like I say, just do it by eye. You don't need to weigh it out. It doesn't really matter. If anything, you want a little bit more sugar, probably with the egg whites, because it'll just keep them a little bit more stable. There we go. So, we've got our 2 bowls of sugar. Let's check the almonds again. Yeah, they're nearly there. If yours are, so mine are looking like that. They're still a little bit anemic, but if yours are looking golden, take them out. I'm going to stick mine back in for a little bit longer. Any other questions or anything like that?
No,
Cool.
Everyone's hard at work.
Good. Okay, I'm just going to move my board to one side because this could get a little messy. You should have 6 eggs. So grab your eggs out. Oh, no way. Where are my eggs? Maybe, I might have put them in the fridge, but I never need eggs in the fridge. Oh, I know. It's all good. They should be. No, fine. Don't worry about it. I've got some other eggs. So if you bought a kit from us, you will have 6 eggs, hopefully. So I'm just going to use these because I think I might have put, I can't remember what I did today. They'll turn up. Anyway, so we want to use 6 eggs, and what we're going to do is we're going to split the eggs. In this one, I'm going to put the yolks, and in this one, I'm going to put the whites. And then we're going to do, which I had totally forgotten last night, but someone reminded me, what's called a sabayon, which is essentially egg yolks and sugar whipped up. And in this one, we're going to do a kind of meringue, basically. And it's really important to get as much air in as possible, so just give them a good old whipping. Now, I'm sure everyone's got their own way of separating eggs, but I do mine. I always break my egg on a flat surface and then stick my thumb in and just crack it over my hand. If you're not comfortable doing that, I know it's kind of probably I've done it in the wrong bowl. That is so typical. Okay, this should be fun. Okay, bear with me 2 secs. I'm just going to grab another bowl. Okay, so sorry about that. So I've kind of mucked up here, but yeah. So you want your egg yolks in the smaller bowl, not like me. But yeah, so that's how I do mine. But if you want to do yours the way that your mum taught you, do it that way. Or like the classic way is to crack it and then tip the egg from one shell to the next. That is also a valid way. Let's just have a quick look at this butter and chocolate. Okay, it's started to melt a fair amount. Now, one thing that I think is quite important for this cake, and I think is quite important for chocolate in general, is to add a little bit of salt. So I've got some sea salt here. Hopefully you have 2. Take a fair pinch, I guess like a pinch and a half, and stick that in with the chocolate. Okay, so eggs. I'm not going to mess this up now. So, if you want, do it the kind of classic way, which is to crack it and then tip it from one eggshell to the other. And it's really important while you're doing this not to get any of the yolk in with the white. It doesn't matter if you get white in with the yolk, but don't get any yolk in with the white because it will prevent it from whipping correctly. Okay. Tom, I'm so sorry. How are you getting on, man? I hope you've sorted out your buttery issues. It is completely my fault, and I apologise to you. Okay, so yeah, like I say, if you've got the kit with us, you've got 6 large eggs. But like, if like me, you've got like varying sizes of egg, that is totally fine as well. Like I say, this recipe is so forgiving. And like last night, we got sent some pictures of people's cakes, and some of them are like rose like crazy, and some of them were kind of less so. But like all of them looked absolutely delicious. So just give that a little muddle. I'm going to check my almonds. I reckon my almonds are going to be done. Yeah, they're looking good. So, oops, have I unplugged? No, I'm alright. So I don't know if you can see those under the camera there. They're kind of golden. I'm going to take mine out now. They could probably take a tiny bit longer, but I'm gonna take them out now so that when I'm doing the eggs, I can just focus on the eggs and don't have to worry about the almonds burning. So,
quick shout out to Tom's neighbours. Looks like they've come to your rescue.
Yes, Tom's neighbours represent. Thank you. Chamberlain Road, massive. Okay, so the almonds that come out, just add a little bit of salt to them. Not loads, just a little bit. And that will do 2 things. It will taste amazing, and it will also stop them from, like, if your kitchen's kind of steamy, like mine's getting, it will stop them from getting soft. Okay, and we're going to put those to one side. Second?
Just put salt in there.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to pop these to one side if I can find a side. There we go. Lovely. So if you're ready, your almonds should be out now. Give your chocolate and butter mixture a little whisk, because that should be nearly there. And now make sure you've got a nice full drink. I haven't got a full drink, but I've got that. Okay. We're going to move on to the egg yolks. So hopefully you can see me there. I've got this like whisk, this electric whisk from 1983.
Holly was just asking if we're doing 6 eggs. Or 6 eggs.
6 eggs, absolutely, yeah. So 6 separated eggs. And like I say, you really don't want any yolk in with the white. It doesn't matter too much if you do.
Well, Mary's got some burnt on her almonds.
Oh, Mary. They'll be delicious, don't worry. But if your almonds are burnt already, I'd say turn your oven down. You've obviously got quite a hot oven. So I'd say turn your oven down, because it would probably be too hot for the cake. So it should be about 160, 155. But if you've got a really hot oven, turn it down a little bit more. Okay, so we'll put the yolks and sugar mix to one side for a moment. We'll do the whites first. And that is because, like I said, if you get yolk in with the white, you will, it will take, I mean, it will eventually whip, but it will take an extremely long time. But if you get white in with the yolk, fine, no worries. There we go. Okay, so I'm a bit scared of this whisk, but I'm going to give it a go. There we go. So sorry about the noise, but you've probably got the same thing going on in your kitchen. We're going to try and incorporate all that sugar into the egg white, also get as much air in there as possible. And if you can, make sure that butter and chocolate mixture's getting there. Mine's almost there actually, which is quite cool. There's no rush, we've got loads of time, what is the time? Cool, we've got loads of time, let's see what this Instagram is. But yeah, if you've got any questions or worries or whatever, like we're here. So I've got Ed from Neon Peach Films live directing basically, so he's got this camera up here and that camera there. And he's also seeing all of your comments and messages and thumbs up and grievances and complaints, and he's sort of selecting them. But obviously if you've got photos, send them to our Instagram account. Sorry.
Do you think I can put them on Facebook if we did, on their thread?
Oh yeah, if you've got photos, stick them on the thread, and then we'll pull them across to the live stream, and you'll be able to see your photo up on the screen. And we can all like laugh at your disasters or celebrate your wins.
And Carolyn's thinking you should be actually using a hand whisk to make up for the butter.
Say that again.
Carolyn's saying you should be using a hand whisk.
I should be using a hand whisk to take.
Just to make up for the butter.
Do you know what, Carolyn? You use a hand whisk. I am not using a hand whisk for this. I mean, you can. It'll take so long though. But yeah, like hopefully you've got a stand mixer or something at home because even this takes longer than that. I'm so sorry about that, but I feel bad about it. I mean, in a way, I'm sort of glad it's someone I know because I can make it up to you in other ways, I'm sure. Anyway, so we're going to get as much air. So basically, with this cake, there was no raising agent. So there's no baking powder. There's no like high carb. The rise comes from the amount of air that you get into this section. So you want to get as much air into the egg white as possible, as much air into the egg yolk as possible as well. Oh, we're getting there. It shouldn't take too long. I mean, if anyone is using a hand whisk, let me know, and I'll try and slow down a little bit for you. But meanwhile, if you've got someone helping you, you could get your cake tin out and your baking parchment, because that's kind of what we're going to move on to next. So I'm interested. Are people like? Are you cooking this stuff together as a couple, or are you cooking it for your loved one? Like, it'd be quite interesting to find out. Because I was going to say I think it's quite nice to like cook together with someone that you care about, but as Alice will tell you, cooking with me is a nightmare. Because I just like to tell people what to do. But hopefully you guys are enjoying your couple or thruple or whatever it is that you want to do. Let's just have a look at this.
Would Tom still like the extra cake if possible?
Yeah, you can come and collect the cake, Tom. That's no problem at all. You can have it. In fact, I mean, I've got one ready now from last night that you could have. Because I managed to only eat a slice out of it. But yeah, so we're just going to have a look at it and see how.
And Ricky's now working with a couple as the kids are in bed.
Ah, wicked. Kids are in bed already. That's cool. Mine's cool. I think she's eating a hot dog in the living room. Okay, so you don't necessarily need it to be like fully sort of stiff peaks. Like, you know, I'm not going to do the thing where I turn it upside down over my head because it'd be a disaster. But like, you want plenty of air in it. Like, hopefully you can see that, and it's got plenty of air in it. So we're going to move on. You don't need to wash this up. Just crack on with the next ones. So I'm going to put it on low because I'm a bit scared of this.
James is out there using a hand whisk.
No, really? What, James Fisher?
James Savage.
Oh, James Savage. Okay. All right, James. Wow. Hey, man, I feel for you. Like it's going to take you a little while to do this, man. If you've got any kind of Magimix or stand mixer or one of these old things, like, get on it, because it's going to take quite a while with hand whisk, and like, I mean, I don't know if we can wait for
Well, there's a few hand whisks out there.
Are there?
Yeah, Carolyn's on hand whisk as well, and it's Jack.
Carolyn's using a hand whisk?
Yeah.
Carolyn, if you want to put round one of our Magimix, you can. Okay, fine.
But Wills is doing it as a couple, as recommended by Rachel and James, saying hi guys.
Oh, nice.
And Mary is cooking with 10-year-old daughter.
Nice one, Mary.
While the husband relaxes in front of the TV.
Okay, well, 10-year-old daughter, I will try my best to not swear as much as I usually do. Another message, let's just see who this is from. Oh. Yeah. Completely, I just got a message completely unrelated to this one. Anyway, so, it's Savion.
Whoa!
I did this last night and completely ruined my really nice shirt. But, Savion should be almost there, minus. I mean, you hand whisk people, like, well done, and I appreciate the fact that you're using a hand whisk. I mean, I'm pretty sure in the equipment list I put a stand mixer or an electric whisk. So if I do move on quite soon, I'm not going to feel so bad. Okay, so my setting's just about there. The sugar's not quite dissolved, but it doesn't matter because that will finish itself off when the cake goes into the oven. Oh, and it's quite nice just to have that moment of silence, isn't it? Just try and get as much of that off as possibly can. Just put that to one side. I've got a little bit of egg on my face. No, egg on my hands. So I'm going to give them a wash.
Wow, Holly has bought an electric whisk just for this.
Oh, Holly! I mean, that's the sort of commitment that I like to see. I think Carolyn and James could learn a lot from you.
Karen's got Ryan doing it, so.
Oh, good. Oh, that's all right then. Lovely. Well, I hope it takes him forever. Sorry, Ryan is a good friend of mine. So, okay, so we're going to have a look at this chocolate and butter mix and just make sure that's kind of melded together. Mine's completely melted. If it's completely melted, turn your hob down to the lowest setting. But we have still got one more thing to do before we combine. I'm going to let people catch up a bit, especially the hand whiskers, and pour myself another drink. Haha. Do you mind grabbing out a beer?
Yeah.
Cheers. Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much. What Valentines would be complete without Stella? So, we're going to move on to the cake tin now. So grab your cake tin out, whatever you're using. If it's round, let me know. If it's square, let me know. Tonight, I used my round tin last night, so tonight I'm going to use my square tin. And really what this is essentially, it's just like a roasting dish. It's non-stick, or it was non-stick, it probably isn't anymore. But if you've got a round dish, let me know and I can kind of roughly show you what to do. We're going to grab the tin out and we're going to grab the baking paper out. So, let me grab mine. Okay. So, hopefully your tin is non-stick. If it isn't, that really doesn't matter because we're going to butter it. But I'm just going to cut the edge of my baking paper. Oh, I shouldn't have done that on the worktop. I'm going to get big trouble for that. So if you're going to cut your baking paper, stick a board down first. If you don't want to get in big trouble. Okay. There we go. Oh yeah, I forgot this is a really blunt knife.
So Tom's out there using Sophie's dad's 40-year-old Kenwood Chefette.
Oh, Kenwood Chef.
There you go.
I mean, the Kenwood Chef is fine. That 40-year-old Kenwood Chef is probably just as good as the new ones. They're so good.
Carolyn's a bit worried that their cake is going to be quite flat because the
What's
blending has made it worse, says
because
Ryan.
what's made it worse?
I think we'll have quite a flat cake. Blending has made it worse.
Blending has made it worse. You did separate the eggs, right? But you'll be alright.
Ricky wants to know if the Stella is matched to the dishes.
The Stella is not matched to any of the dishes. It's probably more matched to my my mood. So what I'm going to do with this cake is I'm just going to I'm lining up the tin on top of the baking paper, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it just one way. So I'm going to ignore these sides because we're going to butter it, so it shouldn't matter too much. So I'm just going to. Whoops! Oh, I need a sharper knife. This is ridiculous. Where's my sharp?
Okay, we've got a couple of questions coming in.
Oh yeah, cool. Questions.
I don't know if it's really a question, but Michelle's just letting us know that her round tin is significantly smaller.
Okay, significantly smaller is fine. What I would suggest though is possibly when we come to it, is not putting the entirety of the mix in. You want the mix to kind of come up to about, I guess, like 2/3 of the tin. I mean, even if it comes up to half, that's fine. If you've got a bigger tin, like a roasting tin, maybe use that. It's up to you. We're going to be using roasting tins later, so if you haven't got enough, use your cake tin.
How thick should the yolk mixture be?
I'll show you with mine. So let me grab a spoon. Like, as long as it's kind of gone pale, and like, can you see that? It's like, how would you describe it? As thick as, like, little bit thicker than double cream, like almost sort of whipping cream kind of texture. That's fine. Basically, what you want to do, I mean, the thicker it is, the better. So I could probably put a bit more air into mine. Like, the more air you get into it, the more the cake's going to rise. So let me just finish cutting my paper. So I'm cutting it to the width of my tin.
Rebecca's got a round dish.
Yep, fine. Okay, so for a round dish, hopefully, I mean, it doesn't matter too much, but I'll show you quickly now. If you've got a round cake tin, which I have somewhere, oh, here we go. So, if you've got a round one like this, if it's one of these with the side, that's all the better. So you undo the side, take the dish out, pop it on your baking parchment, hold it down, get your knife. Don't go in tight. Give it a good sort of like centimetre, half centimetre, and cut all the way around it. Oops. He says. There we go. So cut all the way around it. I mean, I wish I had some sharp knives here. These are pretty blunt, especially because I used them last night. So hopefully that will tear, even though my knives are extraordinarily blunt. Ah! Oh, well, this is giving the hand whiskers a chance to catch up, isn't it?
Sure is.
So, there we go. So it's quite important that it's like slightly wider than your cake tin, because these round cake tins usually, so get rid of any stragglers, because you don't want that in your cake. Because these round cake tins have a little gap, so where the base meets the sides, and you don't want your mixture to escape while it's cooking, because that will ruin your oven. Okay. There we go. So that's going to go in there. But first, before we put the baking parchment into our cake tins, grab your butter from earlier. Tom, grab your butter, mate, from your neighbour. And you're going to butter the tin. I'm going to use my square tin this time, because I used the round one yesterday. So, butter the base, butter the sides, and then if you've done like me, where you're going to put it like all the way across, make sure you really butter the exposed sides where you haven't got baking parchment. Okay. Then put your baking parchment in, stick it down to the butter. If you've got excess over the edge, fold it over. And then butter again. So just lightly butter the baking parchment as well. And this cake doesn't generally stick. Like I say, it's such a foolproof cake to do. But if you make sure you've buttered and baking papered, there's no chance of sticking. So I'm going to use that. Like I say, if you're using a round one, make sure you really butter the edge. If you want, you can cut a piece of baking parchment to cover the edge. But the most important thing is that your baking parchment just covers that join where the side meets the base. Okay, there we go. Cool, so I'm going to get rid of that. So this is all ready to rock. I'm going to pop it to one side for a minute. Let's get rid of the board.
So Rupert, they're already cracking onto the champagne cocktails. Marvellous.
What? I haven't even shown you how to make them yet.
And a mix of Kenwood and hand whisk here, just for the record.
Little double whammy.
They are hard to resist, those champagne cocktails, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're pretty fantastic. So, yeah, if you want to make your champagne cocktail now, you can. If you're cooking together, I mean, it kind of. I was going to show you it to go with the starter, but it's Angostura bitters on a teaspoon of sugar, which goes in with a shot of brandy, and you muddle it a little bit, but you want the sugar to stay kind of not totally dissolved, and then top it up with champagne and a little zest of blood orange. Okay, so got egg white, egg yolk, chocolate. My chocolate's completely melted, so I'm going to turn the hob off and just take the bowl down and get rid of that water. Okay. Right. So you got the chocolate, and it shouldn't be like boiling hot, but just make sure all of that butter and chocolate combined. You can see mine's really nice and smooth. Then into that, we're going to put the sabayon, the egg yolk, and sugar mixture. Actually, before we do that, grab yourself a spatula or a big spoon, because that's going to be really useful in a sec. So just grab, I'm just using this big old spoon, but like if you've got a sort of, you know, like a silicone spatula or something like that, that's perfect. Okay, so let's pop the sabayon in there. Like I can see that the demerara sugar hasn't totally incorporated, but it really doesn't matter. Like I say, this cake's really forgiving.
Ricky's saying his is so hot. Should he cool it?
What, the chocolate?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, take it off. Definitely take it off the heat. It shouldn't be too hot. Keep it moving because you don't want it to burn. If your bowl's really, really hot, like I can touch mine, but if your bowl is really, really hot, then you might be burning your sugar. I mean, burning your chocolate. Sorry. So take it off and leave it to one side just for like a minute or two, because we don't want to. You don't want to pop the egg yolk mixture in there and poach the egg essentially. So like I say, mine is holdable. Like, but yeah. So add your sabayon, your egg yolk mixture in there, and just incorporate it with the chocolate. And you want a nice smooth mixture here. So the egg yolk is going to stabilise the cake, and the egg white is going to give it that lift, which is why we've got this spoon, because we're going to fold the egg white in rather than whisk it in with the whisk. So like, it's kind of counterintuitive. You kind of almost think like if you whisk the egg white in, you get more air into it, but it's the opposite. You'll beat the air out of it. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of my whisk now. And I'm going to put my egg white mixture in. So in here we've got the butter, the chocolate, a pinch of salt, the egg whites that have been beaten with half the sugar, and the egg yolks which have been beaten with the other half of the sugar. And this is our cake. So as I say, if you've got a small cake tin, just keep this aside. I mean, really you kind of want to cook it now. It will lose a lot of air if you keep it in the fridge till tomorrow. But even if you do that, you'll end up with kind of like a sort of gooey kind of brownie thing, which is also delicious. But I'd say if you can cook it all now, so maybe try and grab it, if you've got that small cake tin, whoever that was, maybe try and grab something else to stick in as well, because you'll end up with two delicious cakes. I mean, this is going to make a massive cake. This is not just going to be for tonight. You're going to end up with cake left over, and this cake will keep for 5 days. It's like absolutely brilliant. So
Anna says, yum.
Nice one, Anna. So that's almost folded in now. Just want to make sure we've got that. And it doesn't matter if it's got like, I don't know if you can see mine now, but if it's got that kind of like streak to it, that's absolutely fine. But like, you want to try and get it as uniform as you can without knocking out too much air. So mine I can see is starting to kind of deflate a little bit. So I'm going to get it straight into the cake tin, because I know, having cooked this cake so many times, I know that even if it's got this kind of look, you can see this kind of like streak, this kind of two-tone thing going on. It's still going to come out amazing. So, cake tin, pour your cake mixture in. And like I say, we're going for about half to 2/3 up the side of the cake tin. And I always do this. I don't know why, I always have. I like to give it a little like stir around because it like comes out with kind of a nice pattern on top. It doesn't really make that much difference when you're eating it, but I've just always done it. So, and then
Can I try a bit of that mix?
You want to?
Just a little.
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah. There you go. So I've got Ed here to lick the spoon for me.
Oh wow. Wait a minute.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
That's so
So I mean, it's essentially like it's not far off like a chocolate mousse. So you know, if you're up for raw egg, go for it. It is flipping delicious.
so good.
Okay, so the oven should be hot now, and your almonds should definitely be out. If your almonds are still in, I feel for you. But what we're going to do is we're going to put in a roasting dish or a baking tray or a flan dish, whatever you've got to hand, with some water in it. I'm going to use hot water out of my tap because it doesn't matter. We're not going to eat this. We just want the oven to be kind of slightly steamy. So I'm going to pop that in. Oh, and I need to move my oven around actually. Let's have a look. So, stick the water in the bottom of the oven, so the steam obviously rises up, and stick your cake kind of in the middle. Make sure you've got enough room to let it rise. And like I say, it should be about 160. My oven's pretty hot, so I'm going to turn it down a tiny bit, so it's like 157 or something like that. And then we just have a quick clean down, because we're going to move on to the next stuff. So for the next thing, we're going to need a chopping board and knife. So make sure those are clean. And I'm just going to wipe this down. Okie dokie. So basically, what we've done already is like the majority of our dessert. We still got the cream to do, but with the granita's done. That's in there. So we've got 2 out of our 4 courses done, right? So yeah, let's crack on. Have we got any other messages or questions or anything like that?
No, everyone's still busy at work out there.
Wicked. So what have we got? We've got post on Instagram. Oh, okay. I think there's a post on Instagram from Kelly and Jack, which is pretty cool.
Okay. Jack's just saying, shall I put the cake in the oven? I think.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
There may be a bit of a lag on that.
You may have missed that. There may have been a bit of a lag. So I've just put the cake in the oven. It's at 160 degrees with that like with a kind of I used a flan dish, but anything you've got with some water in it that would create a little bit of steam in the oven and stop your cake from getting too crisp on the outside. Okay, we're going to move on. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move on to the
just a quick one. Karen was just I wanted to do oven temperature again.
Oven temperature 160 degrees. If you've got a hot oven, turn it down a little bit. It's worth kind of just like checking it. If you've got glass in the front of your oven, just worth sort of having a little look in a little while. And if it's rising like crazy, turn it down a little bit because you kind of want it to cook a bit more evenly. But yeah, we're going to move on to the fish. We're just going to take a 2-minute break. So fill up your glasses, do any washing up that you need to do, grab your chopping board and your sharpest knife, and we'll just take a 2-minute break. Night, darling. Sleep well. I'm just going to take a minute break and I'll come and say goodnight, okay? Cool, so we'll just take a 2-minute break. So we're just going to go to the card. Can we do that?
Put the card on, yeah.
Sweet, alright, see you in a sec. Just checking there's no.
You're back on.
I'm back on, am I? Am I live now?
You are.
Oh, cool.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah, no, it's all good. I just wanted to check if there's anyone. Kelly cooking up a storm. Kelly and Jack. Oh, nice.
Cool. You got Claire. Oh, you've seen the things. You got Claire's loving it. She says thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Will looking good.
Good. Nice one.
Carolyn
Will.
saying thank you. Jack. Apparently Kelly is his KP tonight.
Kelly's his KP.
Mm.
How did the 100 grams of chocolate thing go? You made like a little cake. I'm kind of interested.
While we're on that, Claire was just asking how long the cake's going to go in the oven for.
So
I think
it's going to be about 30-40 minutes, something like that.
Tom,
make sure we've got room in there to put something else in. We're going to put something else in a bit.
Tom's overfilled the cake tin. It's going to be messy.
Yeah, it's going to be really messy. It will rise. Like, don't be put off by it not having a raising agent. It will rise quite a lot. So yeah, you're going to have fun. Maybe put a baking tray under it or something, Tom. But anyway, I'm really glad you sorted the butter out. Sorry about that again.
Well, James Savage is never going to hand whisk egg whites ever again.
No, you mustn't. No, it's not worth it. So we're going to move on swiftly. So I'm going to do the starter because that's got a cure. It's going to take about an hour to cure. So you want your fish out of the fridge. You want your fennel. Grab your chilli and your chives. Let me see what else. I've written it down, which is cool. Oh, the blood orange, obviously. And we're going to do the seaweed a bit later because it doesn't take long and it's quite a fun job to do kind of while everything else is getting on. Don't worry about those, I've got some other ones, so yeah. And equipment wise, you need your cutting board, you need a sharp knife. My knife, like I say, all of my good knives are at work, so I've got our like house kitchen knife, which is not very sharp, so I'm with you, don't worry. If your knife's not as sharp as it could be, don't worry about it. And then you're going to need like a kind of Tupperware, which is going to go in the fridge. So I've got this, and you're going to want a lid for it as well. So I've got this, which I think is kind of the perfect size. So grab something like that.
So Jack's just wondering, you say the starter is going to take an hour to cure?
It's going to take an hour to cure, correct. Yeah. So grab your fish, grab your fennel. Hey dolls. You've taken mine already, that's the second time. Right, do you want to see what I'm doing? Do you want to see the cake? There's a chocolate cake in the oven, do you want to see it? Okay, stand back, sit on top. Look at that. You can have a bit of that tomorrow if you like. Yeah? Alright. Look, there's people watching us on that camera there. Do you want to say good night to them? Go on then. Well done. Alright, sweetheart. Lots of love. See you in a bit. Cool. So grab your fennel out and your chilli and your chives and blood orange. Oh, and you're going to need your final lime. If you've got a kit from us, there's 3 limes. We've used 2. So we've got chives, chilli, lime, blood orange, fennel. We're going to do the kind of veg stuff first and then we're going to do the fish. So is that lined up right?
Yeah, perfect, yeah.
Cool, alright, so grab your fennel and you see like it'll have slightly grundy bits at the top, so just chop those off, put them to one side. Keep the kind of leafy bit because that's going to be all good to eat.
Dulcie's getting all the love.
Oh yeah, of course she is. And then the root, anything that's kind of brown, take it off. Yeah, this knife's really blunt. It's going to be really funny doing this fish. And like what you'll often find with fennel is like between each leaf there might be a little bit of dirt. So it's up to you. You can take off the first leaf and have a little look. Mine's nice and clean. So I'm probably going to keep all of that. But this sort of like kind of browny stuff, because we're kind of eating this almost raw, just take it off. And what we're doing is almost like a ceviche. I mean, I guess it is a ceviche or a ceviche or whatever. But instead of onion, we're going to use fennel, and that's going to go really beautifully with this blood orange. So, oh, the other thing I forgot: grab your grater, because we're going to be doing some zesting in a minute. But first things first, get your fennel, and you want to chop this as thinly as you can. It doesn't matter whether you chop it this way or this way, whatever you want to do. I'm going to go this way, so I'm going to go kind of like sideways across it. I'm just going to cut it as thinly as I can. because we're kind of, like I say, it's going to be kind of raw. So cut it as thinly as you possibly can. And I'm doing this kind of as slow as I can. And when you get down to the bottom, you might want to turn it to one side so you can get the rest of it. Oh, this knife is really blunt. Doing the fish is going to be quite funny. But yeah, like I say, if you, I think I said on the list, like, as sharp a knife as you've got. But you know, don't worry too much, because I'm going to be in the same boat as you if you've got a blunt knife. So there we go. So that's half of my fennel done. Stick that in the Tupperware that you've got. Let me move those and pull that closer so you can see. Just for shits and giggles, I'm going to do this the other way. But with ceviche, it's quite, you know, like I said, you usually use an onion. I mean, if you have got a bit of onion floating around, you could put a bit of onion through it. It won't do any harm. But the kind of oniony sort of allium flavour that we're going to put into this is going to come from the chives that we've got. So, okay, sweet. So there we go. So we've got the fennel in there. It's quite. My fennel was fairly big, so there's quite a lot in there. Now, this is probably a good time to bring up the grapefruit. So I think I put on the ingredients list that you should get pink grapefruit. That was a bit of a typo, to be honest with you. I started off thinking this was going to be a pink grapefruit thing, and then I went for blood orange. But if you have got pink grapefruit, don't worry, you can use it. So you can juice it, you can zest it, you can do whatever you want. But for now, what we're going to do, let's zest the blood orange. So use your finest grater bit and zest it. It doesn't matter if you don't get the whole lot, but it's like a really nice sort of dash of colour to the dish. And it's going to add that kind of slight sort of tanniny sort of bitterness to it, which is good. My grater's also blunt, so you know. Okay, so that zest can go in with fennel. There we go. Now, grab yourself a little plate or something. Go to one side, because we're going to chop some other bits and bobs, but these are for later. We're not going to put those in right now. I just want to chop all the veg and fruit before we move on to the fish. So, grab your line, chop it in half, and the same with your zested blood orange. Chop it in half. Oh, look at that! That is a beauty. Woo. And grab your chives out. So, if you got a kit from us, you'll have like a fairly hefty bunch of chives. You don't need it all, but grab your chives out, and we're going to chop those really as fine as you can, but save, I guess, like at least 3 behind, because when you use those to garnish the steak. So I'm going to pop those to one side, and then with the chives, just chop those as finely as you may. I guess this knife's alright in places. Like I say, if I was kind of doing this real, I would have sharpened this knife before. But I'm kind of, like I say, I kind of want to go for the sort of, I know it sounds weird, but like the lowest common denominator. So I want to kind of make sure that I'm using the same kind of kit that you guys are using. So that's the chives chopped. Pop them to one side on a plate. And like, you can see how many I've got. Even that's probably like more than you'll need. So then grab the chili, And if you want, wear a glove or whatever, but definitely don't sort of scratch your eyes or whatever. Chop it lengthways in half. There we go. And then you're just going to remove that pith, both sides, and remove all the seeds. So use the back of the knife to sort of scrape them out. And with the chili, when it comes to it, like depending on what you like, add as much or as little as you fancy. If you're not a big chili fan, don't put very much in. But I'd kind of encourage you to put a bit in because it's really delicious. Okay, so I've got my de-seeded chili, sort of almost de-seeded. Got a little bit sort of clinging on for dear life there. There we go. Okay, and then again we're going to dice that as thin as you can. If you want, you can just straight slice it down there as thin as you like. But I'm going to dice mine, so cut it down the length of the chili. Nearly cut down the length of my finger then. Kind of lucky this knife is blunt. Okay. So cut down the length of the chili, it really is blunt, it's hilarious. Okay, and then we're just going to dice that as thin as possible. And again, this is not going to go in with the fennel at the moment. It's going to go off to one side, in with the on the same plate as the chives. Like I say, if you did end up buying a pink grapefruit, you're welcome to use a bit of zest from that and a bit of juice from that. It's not going to do any harm whatsoever. Or you can have it for breakfast. Do what you want. Okay, so I've got my diced chili there. That's going to go on the plate there with the chives for the garnish of the steak, and the chopped chives, and we've got the chili as well. Okay, so I'm just going to lose this into my food bin, and we'll leave that out because we're going to use it for the fish. I have got a sharp knife actually, which I'm borrowing at the moment from this guy in Leiston, this guy in Suffolk, called Will Redhead, who's got a forge called Red 5 Forge, and it is really sharp and fantastic, and I would love to use it, but for now I'm going to use this like Sainsbury's own brand knife. So grab your squeezer. So I put it to one side because we're going to use it now. I'm going to squeeze the lime and squeeze the blood orange. Have we got any questions or anything?
Or just Claire is winning here. I think
She's winning. Brilliant.
That's from Jerome.
Nice one.
And that's about it.
Right. And how many people have we got viewing at the moment?
24 at the moment.
Oh, nice. How many extra 4 people? I hope if anyone's kind of joined late and needs to catch up, I'm more than happy to go over things. Sorry, when you've squeezed your citrus, just pour it in with the fennel. So I'm doing my lime first. Doesn't matter what you do first, but okay. So I've got my lime squeezed. I mean, I have got this super fast squeezer, but I don't know what I've done with it now, so I'm just going to use this. And the blood orange, and obviously that's going to give us a nice bit of colour as well. And blood oranges are bang in season at the moment, so these are perfectly ripe and sweet and delicious.
Jack's cake looks good.
Good! Oh yeah, I might have a quick look at mine actually. It's a good reminder. Wow, mine's really rising. In fact, mine's sort of, if yours is starting to crack at the top, which mine is, just turn it down a tiny bit. So I've now turned my oven down to about 150, because we want the cake to be cooked fairly evenly. I mean, it really, like I say, this cake's forgiving. So if it's kind of gooey in the middle and crisp on the outside, it's still going to be absolutely wonderful to eat. Okay, so yeah.
Carolyn's has risen by about 0.0001 millimetre.
Well, that's Ryan's fault, so don't worry about that. But like I say, it doesn't matter if your cake hasn't risen at all.
Mary just wondered if you're using all of the fennel.
Yeah, I used all the fennel. I mean, you don't have to, but it is kind of a main part of the dish. Yeah, I used all the fennel, and I'd sort of encourage you to do the same. So I'm going to put my herb bag just to one side for a minute.
Son is saying, you can smell the cake. Do they need to do anything?
No, just have a quick look at it. If it's Oops. If it's starting to crack, then turn the oven down a little bit. Cool. Okay, so make sure you're ready for this. We're going to do the fish. So if you've got a kit from us, you'll have 3. If you've got another type of fish, like it'll all be good. Don't worry about it. Get your fish out onto your board. And this is fresh sea bream. So I'm just going to get rid of that. So it's going to be absolutely delicious. Right. So can you see me from above? Cool. So I've got my fish here, and you'll notice that if you turn it over, you've got like the kind of darker sort of grey side, and where it goes white at the bottom, that's the belly of the fish. So we're going to be eating this kind of semi-cured, like almost raw. And this is this belly at the bottom, this kind of slightly fattier, kind of like almost. I mean, I'm not going to say gristly because fish isn't like that, but like this isn't going to be so nice to eat raw. So we're going to cut it off. So look for the place where you're where it sort of turns from sort of belly fat to flesh, and just trim it off. It's taking me 2 goes with that knife. And chucking the food in. And we'll do the same to the other one. Okay, and I'm going to show you 2 different ways to cut this fish. I don't know if we'll be able to do this with this blunt knife, the first one, but I'm going to give it a good shot. So turn your fish so that the tail is pointing towards you. Take your knife, get a good grip on the tail, as good a grip as you can, and cut down at an angle towards the skin, and just keep moving your knife. Just be gentle, you don't need to push too hard. And then as it goes a bit further, make sure you get a nice good grip on that skin, and just keep slowly moving your knife, keeping that angle down towards the skin. If you're a bit scared of skinning a fish, like I'm going to show you another method which is super easy and means you won't kind of mangle your fillet. But alright, there we go. So you can see I've got my skin here, which is removed of all flesh, and we've got these beautiful sea bream fillets, skinless. Okie doke. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it, again, point the tail of the fish down towards you, but start this time with your knife at the top, and you're going to angle again down towards the skin, but you're just going to cut through the flesh in slices down towards the skin. And if you're nice and gentle, you won't cut through the skin. We're going to try and leave the skin behind, essentially. So there we go. Can you see we've got a nice thin slice? I mean, it doesn't matter if it's not too thin. It's still going to be absolutely delicious. But there we go. So I'm going to quickly do this one. Yeah, and even with this like extraordinarily blunt knife, it's working really well with this method. We're getting nice slices of bream. Okay. So keep going all through that.
Tom's just saying the starter smells incredible.
Nice! Already there. So yeah, so what we're doing is like, it's kind of almost like a ceviche method. So it's so we're not curing this fish with any salt at the moment, because the salt is going to come from the seaweed seasoning, which I'm going to make for you later. If you end up adding salt to your mix at the moment, it's going to kind of cure the fish in a slightly different way. But yeah, as you can see, when you get to this end, it's a bit more tricky with this method to get the last bit of flesh off. So I'm not going to bother. That's enough there. Remember, this is just a starter, so it doesn't need to be a huge amount. So that's the fish that I did with the second method, cutting down towards the skin. I'm going to stick that in my Tupperware with the citrus, fennel and zest. And then with the second one, you're kind of a bit more free to kind of chop this however you want. So I'm just going to chop it nice and thinly like this. I say thinly, this knife is so blunt, it's ripping it to shreds. Do you know what? Just because I feel like it's fairer to the fish, I'm going to use a sharper knife. So I've got this beautiful knife, which will give me some nice thin slices.
All loves for the smells out there. Claire saying the chocolate cake smells incredible.
Yeah, my chocolate cake's really going for it as well. It's filling my kitchen with that sort of nice chocolatey goodness. we'll have a quick look at that after we've done this. Okay, so hopefully everyone's kind of up to speed. I know it will take people slightly longer than me to do this, but if you kind of concentrate for now, when you've done your fish, stick it all into the Tupperware with your fennel. And put the board to one side. We're going to need to wash that up in a minute. But you should have your fennel, zest, citrus juice and fish. And we're just going to give that a good mix around. Use a spoon if you want, it's up to you. Do whatever you want. But make sure the fish especially has got a good coating of the citrus juice, because that will, that's what's going to cure it. That's what's going to cook it essentially. I mean, what we're doing is we're cooking this fish cold in acid. And that's going to cook the flesh of the fish. So I can feel now that I'm doing this that I cut my fennel a little bit thick, but like I say, it doesn't matter a huge amount. Like, fennel is delicious, completely raw. So anything extra is a bonus. Okay. So I feel like my fish is nicely coated in the citrus, and I'm just going to make sure that all those little bits are kind of tucked in. It doesn't need to be totally covered, but like as close to covered as you can get with the citrus juice is better. The fish and the fennel will release a little bit more juice while it's in the fridge and it starts to cook, but you want to kind of get it like nice and level, so at least it's got a fighting chance of curing. Okay, I'm just going to wash my hands. And then I'm going to pop a cover on that and pop it into the fridge. Thank you very much. Have a little drink. Nice. So pop anything you're not using to one side. Again, always good to have a little clean down between each course, especially after doing raw fish.
Michelle, just quickly saying, did the chives go in?
No, the chive. So if you have a look here, I've got my chives and my chilli just off to one side, and we're just going to keep those off to one side until later on. I'm just going to have a little clean down. Okay. There we go. So I'm just going to have a quick look at my cake. Try not to open the oven if possible. But mine is looking pretty good. Right, I'm going to open my oven and show you, but don't open yours. And my glasses are going to steam up. So look, if you can see that. So my cake's not ready, and I can see it already starting to sink now it's out of the oven. But can you see that sort of wobble it's got? Like, basically, it's hard to describe, but I guess like when it's ready, you'll wobble it and it will like almost immediately kind of come back together. So you can see it kind of like, it wibbles. That's it. Okay, so that's the difference between a wibble and a wobble. And so the wibble, the wibble is kind of like really loose, and the wobble should just like wobble and come straight back together. So that's not quite ready. I'm gonna pop it back in. Like I said, keep yours in because I doubt they'll be ready yet.
Claire's just checking in. The fish went into the fridge, didn't it? Not the
fish
freezer.
did go into the fridge, yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter too much if you can't fit it in your fridge. Like, it will still cure. It will all be good. Like, once it's in that acid, it's like safe. So don't worry about it too much. And like it's not seasoned. So in a bit, we're going to season it and make it like really nice. But for now, let me just check my list. We are going to check our granita. So grab a fork, open up the freezer, and just have a look and see how far it's got. Okay, so it should have like a few little kind of ice crystals on the top. It should be getting there. Give it a little like mix around with the fork. You don't need to go crazy. And then just pop it back in. So we're going to be doing that every sort of 30 minutes or so. Okay. The thing to do right now, if like me you've only got one chopping board, is wash it up. So So wash up your chopping board and wash up your knife. Give it a good wash. You really don't want your main course to end up tasting kind of fishy. So give it a good wash up. And while I'm doing this, anyone who's kind of a little bit behind with the fish or whatever can catch up. But hopefully you're all with me. Do let me know if you're not, because I'm more than happy to kind of hang back a little bit. It just means more drinking time, so you know. Okay, so just washing up my board, and I'm going to wash up my sharp knife as well. Yeah, I'm going to use the crap knife, even though it pains me to do so. So.
Jack's just saying, as their cake was smaller, it's done.
Oh yeah, it definitely will be.
Right. And so do they keep the oven on?
Do keep the oven on, absolutely, but take the cake out and pop it somewhere cool. Like, I recommend maybe putting it outside to cool down, like as it's so nice and cool. Or you can just leave it in your kitchen to come to room temperature. So I'm just going to pop this here because I've got, I don't want it to be too slidey. Okay. So hopefully you guys are all with me. Like I say, do let me know if you need me to slow down. But we're going to move on to the celeriac fondant. So what we're going to need for this is your knife, your board. If you want a peeler.
So we've got a couple of things going in. On a serious note, Holly says, did you say the fish goes in the fridge and chili? Sorry, we missed that bit.
Okay. The chili, the chopped chili and chopped chives, just go to one side. That's for garnishing later. So don't worry about that. The fish and fennel and zest and juice all go in the fridge as is. So you've got them in your Tupperware. You've kind of got it kind of, I was going to say compressed. That's not quite the word, but sort of level in your Tupperware. Stick that in the fridge and just leave it now. And that's just going to stay in there until it's ready to serve, okay? So hopefully everyone's on that. The chili and the chives we've just chopped so that they're ready for later. That's it. But
Holly says thank you.
No worries.
And Jack's saying his cake has a San Andreas-esque fault line running through it.
Brilliant. Nice. All right, cool. So we're going to move on to the celeriac fondant. So you should have a knife, chopping board, peeler if you want it. Grab your biscuit cutter. I said in the equipment list to get a round one. I haven't actually got a round one at home, but I have got this, and it is Valentine's Day, so I've got a heart-shaped one. If you've got a heart-shaped one, grab it now, because it is Valentine's Day. Well, nearly. So, stick that to one side. What else are we going to need? You're going to need a roasting tray of some description. You could do it on a baking tray, just like mine. Look, I don't know if you can see that. I mean, this is pretty old and grundy, but like, it's a little bit too shallow. So a roasting tray would be best. So grab your roasting dish, tray, whatever. And you're going to need, ingredients-wise, you're going to need your celeriac, some of your butter, which you should have left over from the cake, some salt, so get access to some salt, pepper, black pepper, nutmeg. I haven't got any ground nutmeg, I've got whole nutmeg, so I'm also going to need my grater. Oh, excuse me, sorry about that. It's the Stella. So I'm also going to need my grater for my whole fresh nutmeg. And what else do you need? Some water in a bit. If you've got any garlic, thyme, even if it's dried, that's fine. Garlic, thyme. You could use a stock cube as well if you like. I'm going to use a bit of garlic and thyme for mine, but so grab those.
To say, Son doesn't have any sort of biscuit cutter.
Who doesn't?
Son.
Well, then they didn't read the equipment list. No, if you haven't got a biscuit cutter, don't worry. Find something round or heart-shaped and get your sharp knife, and you're going to end up cutting around it. I mean, if you want, it could be quite fun to try and sort of like cut your own heart-shape freehand. It depends how sort of like creative you're feeling. But yeah, we're going to get onto that in a sec. So grab your ingredients out. So we need the celeriac. Mine's a pretty fair size actually today. Yesterday's was a bit smaller. So your celeriac, you can see the bottom here is the roots. So that's going to have like, mine's not too bad, but like little kind of pockets of dirt, We really, really don't want those going anywhere near it because that's going to be horrid. So that's the top, that's the bottom. We're going to cut the bottom off it. And like, there's enough celeriac here for you not to worry too much about like taking out too much of the flesh. So I'm going to take about an inch off mine. And this bit with the kind of mud on it, get it straight off your board, because you don't want to cover your chopping board in like mud, because that will get into the celeriac. And there's like 2 ways you can do this. So I like to peel my celeriac with a knife. You can use a peeler, that's absolutely fine. You can peel it. It will take you slightly longer because it's quite a sort of gnarly, tough skin. I'd recommend you do it with a knife. So if you can do it with a knife, take the top off as kind of close to the skin as you can, and get yourself, and then pop it down on the flat bottom that you've cut off, and start to just gently trim that skin off. So you can see you're just kind of trying to take off as little flesh as possible. But if you are using a peeler, you know, just kind of peel it, I guess. It's up to you if you want to do it with a peeler or not. There we go. So I'm going to use my knife because that's kind of my preferred method. I'm doing mine fairly quickly, but like that's because I'll end up sort of doing loads of waffle before I do the next bit. So like if you're not doing it as quickly as me, just do not worry about it. Okay. I'm going to have a little look at my cake actually, because I'm getting a good whiff of cake. If your cake is still really wobbly, but it's starting to catch on the top, it's starting to go a bit like dark brown, grab a piece of baking parchment and stick it over the top, because that will stop the top of it from cooking. Mine probably only needs another 5 minutes or so. So I'll just show you mine again, even though it's going to suffer slowly. So there's my cake. And you can see it's more of a wobble than a wibble, if you know what I mean. So I shake it and it comes back. It's still not quite there. Like you can still see that it's like, I mean, you can actually see down the cracks there that it's still like really soft. So I'm going to stick it back in the oven, but it's probably only sort of, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes away. Okay, so after that business, we've got all of this celeriac peel to remove. Can I just mention as well about this camera that I've got up here? Means that you can see quite clearly my bald spot. I'm not ashamed. I'm a man in later life, and so like, you know, keep your flipping comments to yourself. All right. Okay, so we're gonna get rid of that skin, get it off the board, make the board nice and clear. If my knife was really sharp, I wouldn't do that. But it's not. So yeah, use the back of your knife to scrape the board. That's the go-to. But mine's like the back of the knife's almost as sharp as the front of the knife. So anyway, right. So we've now got this peeled celeriac. Just check it over for any bits and bobs and dings. I've actually got a little bit there that needs removing. And then, because I like my fingers and my knife is quite blunt, I'm going to choose a side that's like almost flat. So I'm going to go for this side, and don't worry about it, but we're going to cut this off and lose it, because we're going to turn the celeriac on its side and we want a nice solid cutting base for it. So I've just cut one side off that was almost flat already, and we're just going to turn it onto its side. And now it's not going to go anywhere, the knife's not going to slip, and we're not going to lose a finger and all that sort of stuff. Now all these excess bits of celeriac you can keep, because you can turn that into a little salad for tomorrow, or a celeriac puree if you want. Like you just need to cook it down with some water or stock or whatever until it's cooked, and then blitz it up with a bit of milk or cream and butter and seasoning. I'm just going to put mine off to one side for a moment. And now we're going to cut the celeriac into about 1-inch slices. Okay, so just take a good look at it, line it up before you make the cut, because you only get one go at that. and we're just going to cut it into these 1-inch slices. You're aiming for at least 4 slices. Oh, this knife is going everywhere. And like Celeric's pretty tough, especially when they're big like this.
So just another quick question, Tom. They've taken their cake out too. What temperature should the oven be for the next stage?
So just leave it at the temperature that it's at for now. We're going to mess about with it in a bit, but we'll get onto that. So just leave your oven at the temperature that it's at. Okay, so I managed to get 5 slices out of my... 4 slices out of my celeriac kit. Do you know what, actually? I'm just going to give that a quick rinse, because that's a better slice than the other one I've got. So I've got 5 slices again out of my celeriac. So this is the point where we're going to use the biscuit cutter. So if you haven't got a biscuit cutter, do you know what? Because someone out there hasn't got a biscuit cutter, I'm going to give it a go. This is going to be hilarious. But I'm going to try and carve a heart shape out of this. So, but if you have got a biscuit cutter, get your biscuit
you've almost already done it.
Yeah, I know. It's almost there, isn't it? If you have got a biscuit cutter, push it through. And if it's struggling to go through, hopefully your biscuit cutter's metal. Get a wooden rolling pin or something like that, and you can bash it through. But generally, you can push it through with your hand, and you get a beautiful little heart shape. There we go. And those go into the roasting dish like that. But yeah, I'm gonna try just for shits and giggles to carve myself a heart shape out of this one. This is already actually looking pretty good. Maybe I should have. Everyone's. Oh no, that's. I ruined it. I've totally ruined it. But thoughts there, and as with everything, it's the thought that counts, isn't it? It's Valentine's Day, but at least we're making an effort, right? Okay, so there you go. Look, I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, it's not as good as this, but it's not too bad. Okay, so let's just press out the last ones. If you've got a round, oops, wrong end, ouch. If you've got a round biscuit cutter, you're obviously going to have round celeriac fondants, and that is absolutely grand as well. If I had a round one, I'd probably do round ones, just because hearts can be a bit naff, can't they? I guess. So like I say, all of this trim that you're getting from the celeriac, if you want to keep it, and I recommend you do, keep it. You can grate it and stick it in a salad, delicious. Like celeriac loves dressing. I've got one stuck somehow. Or you can turn it into a celeriac puree, which is absolutely delicious. Like I say, just get a pan, cover it with cold water, bring it up to the boil, drain it off, and then season it up with some cream or milk, a knob of butter, and some salt and pepper, a little bit of nutmeg. Go on, what have we got? I can hear you.
Son's found a biscuit cutter, but it's a German castle, so not exactly a simple shape.
I mean, if you've got a German castle, do a German castle. So anyway, let's put these. I'm going to put these bits aside so that we can eat them tomorrow. Let me find a bowl that I might not want later. So I'm just going to put all these aside because, like I say, it's perfect for a little salad or something like that. And you don't want to waste food. No one wants to waste food. So, okay, pop those to one side. And top up my drink. Oh god, I miss a pint at the pub. I don't know. It's like a pint of Stella at home is all well and good, but pint of beer in a pub's something else entirely, isn't it? I mean, they certainly wouldn't pour a pint with that much head on it, but there we go. Okay, so that's that all sorted. Pop your board to one side. We're not going to need that now for a minute. You've got your fondants, sort of as mismatched as they might be. And we're... Oh, actually, keep the board out. My mistake. Because we need to just chop some butter up. So you've got, I guess, about 3/5 of your butter left. We're going to use about half of what you've got, just over half of what you've got. So leave yourself like a good 50 grams, sort of like 1/5 of your butter pat. So we're going to use that later on for the steak. So I'm just going to wrap that back up. Doesn't need to go in the fridge. We're going to use it soon. Cut a little slice of butter, one for each fondant. 3, 4, 5. And you can put those on top now. It doesn't matter. Then you'll put each bit of those bits of those butter on top of each fondant. Get some salt. Salt the butter because that's going to pervade through to the flesh of the celeriac. So we're going to salt the butter there. And the pepper. I said this last night. I've got this slight obsession with, because we've got this supermarket pepper, of like grating it into the lid, and then you've kind of got a bit more control as to where it goes. But I don't know why I keep mentioning that. It's something I've got like a strange obsession with. So yeah, a little bit of pepper on each one. There we go. And then look, I've got that for later. See what I mean? It's great. Okay. And I've got my nutmeg. You might have ground nutmeg. That's all good. You just need a pinch. So we're going to do a little pinch on each, tiny pinch on each one. So I'm going to use my nutmeggy kind of side of my grater, and fresh nutmeg like is a little bit pokier than the pre-ground stuff. So I'm not going to put a crazy amount on because you don't want to overpower the rest of the dish. So I'm just going to grate my nutmeg over the top there like that. Ooh, oh yeah. Lovely. And then, let me just see what this is. Well done. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Felix. Nice one. Cool. So, we've got that in there. So grab a little bit of your brown sugar or your golden caster sugar. I'm just going to put a little pinch of that, just a little pinch over each one. Not a crazy amount. Now, if you've got some garlic, grab it now. If you've got a whole bowl, just chop it in half and stick half a bulb of garlic in one end of the pan. If you got a kit from us, in the bottom of your brown bag, hopefully, I've got some, you should have a few cloves of garlic. I've only got a few. So in mine, I've only got 4 cloves, but you want like 2 or 3 at least. The other 2, keep a couple of cloves of garlic back. You should also have a couple of sprigs of thyme. I can grab mine out. And again, if you've got a kit from us, you'll have a bit of thyme in your brown bag, and use about just over half of it, I'd say. So I'm going to stick that in, but instead of sticking it over the top of your fondant, stick it to one side, because we just want to flavour the fondants. We don't want to like little kind of bits of thyme and kind of stalks everywhere. So put the other bit of thyme aside. If you didn't get a kit from us and you bought your own ingredients, like you can use a bit of thyme, a bay leaf, a bit of dried thyme or dried rosemary. Like I say, chop a bulb of garlic in half. Use half there, and we'll use half later. But that's almost ready. If you haven't got any of that stuff, like a chicken or vegetable stock cube just popped in one corner, will do a great job of giving them just like a little bit more depth. I'm not going to use a stock cube. I'm just going to now take this over to the tap, and I'm going to fill it up with water until it almost gets to the edge of my fondant. So it's going to be about 1.5 centimetres of water. Cool, I'm happy with that. So there mine are, and I'm going to pop that straight in the oven uncovered. And while the oven's open, let's have a look at the cake. I think mine's done. It looks like it is. So hopefully you can see that. So, and you should see what I mean about the wobble now. So it kind of wobbles and immediately goes back. And look, you can see immediately it's losing a lot of that kind of air that it's getting from the heat. You don't have to do this, but I quite like to knock my cake because that will split some of the bubbles that have formed inside it. So it will basically immediately let it sink. But for me, that's good because it will then cool the way it sort of stabilises it in a weird kind of way. So I knock it, and there you go. You can see it. I don't know if you can see, but it kind of sunk straight away. Now, if your cake's ready like mine is, and hopefully yours is, we're going to put it to one side. If you want, stick it outside because it's nice and cold, but stick it somewhere cool at least. And hopefully I'll remember to tell you to kind of put it either outside or in the fridge later. I'm going to put mine just to one side now. Actually, I'm going to stick it down here for now. And then I'm going to pop mine either in the fridge in a bit, or I'll stick it outside if I can get to the back door. Cool. So, the fondants are in. We've done the cake. Your starters basically.
So quick one here. We've got Holly's just saying celiac in the oven. Yes? Question mark.
Oh.
And then Mary saying, did you say put water in with the celeriac?
I did. Yeah. So you need. Hopefully you're hearing everything I'm saying, but so the water needs to come up just to the edge of the celeriac. So it shouldn't be covered in water. You should have like the top edge of your celeriac fondants sort of poking out. Because that's going to get a nice bit of colour on the top of them. Yes, they go into the oven, and at the moment your oven should be on about 160, 150. Mine's on 155, so I'm going to turn it up to 160, which is probably going to be about right, I reckon. So 160, I mean, I've got kind of a new oven, so your oven might be a little bit cooler than mine. If it is, stick it up a little bit more. But like, we're talking sort of 160 to 170 degrees. And they're going to take about 45 minutes, something like that. So, we're going to move on.
So a couple of I'm coming through thick and fast now. Antonio just saying, I might have missed it, but does the nutmeg go on the butter?
The nutmeg, yeah, so it goes in, so you've got the butter on top of the fondants, nutmeg over the top, salt, pepper, a little bit of sugar, and then just the water and any aromats, so like any aromatic herb, like rosemary, bay, thyme, and a bit of garlic if you've got garlic. If you haven't, it really doesn't matter. Also, if you wanted to, you could put a chicken or a vegetable stock cube in the pan, but don't like crumble it over the top. Just pop it off to one side so the flavour just goes into the celeriac, but you're not kind of like over seasoning it essentially.
And then just to confirm one more time, the temperature.
Temperature 160 to 170 degrees. Do you know what I've just remembered? So last night we made the champagne cocktails, and I didn't actually have champagne last night. I do tonight. It's quite exciting. I had this, and I've got like a kind of inch left in the bottle, and it's flat. And I should have said this: if you've got like some old white wine, make sure it's white, not red. White wine or flat cava or champagne. You can stick a little bit of that in with the celeriac because that will just give it that sort of extra little bit of richness. So I'm going to.
And then just while you're there as well, do you only take the water out from the bottom?
Say that again.
So you got water in the bottom of the oven.
Oh yeah, take it out. Yeah, because otherwise you'll just end up with a dry, like pan in the bottom of your oven. I mean, I haven't actually taken mine out, and in fact, I forgot to take it out last night, and I had a bit of scrubbing to do this morning. So yeah, good call. So take that pan of water out of the oven now. Oops, I think I've just unplugged the light. Sorry. And now you should be able to hear me again. Sorry, I just trod my mic and pulled it out. So sorry, Mike. Sorry, viewers. But yeah, so I've just popped that little leftover bit of booze in there because I don't want it to go to waste. Okay. So like I said, we've got the starter, like almost all ready to go. You've got celeriac fondants, easy. We're just going to do a few little kind of bits around the edge. We're going to do the leeks. We're going to do the horseradish creme fraiche. We're going to fork the granita, which is in the freezer, and then we're kind of going to get everything kind of sorted. We'll maybe take like 5 minutes after that, and hopefully that will mean that the starter's ready to plate. I'll show you how to do the champagne classic cocktail. We'll have a champagne classic cocktail and the starter. We'll go and eat it. I'll stay online if anyone's got any sort of further questions. But once you've eaten that, then we'll come back and we'll just finish the main. I'll show you how to plate the dessert and the granita, which you'll do in your own sweet time, and I'll leave you alone to enjoy your evening. So let's move swiftly on. Grab your grater and your horseradish. So if you bought a kit from us, you'll have half a horseradish root or thereabouts. I think like a couple of people got whole ones and some people got like a couple of bits. But essentially what you want to do is just take the plastic off it. And this is when you will need your peeler. So grab your horseradish root and like we're going to grate it. So leave a little nub at the top for you to hold and then just peel the rest of it. And the skin is a bit tough, so just watch the tips of your fingers. And like it's like full of sort of mustard oils, so you might start to weep a little bit. But you know, it's Valentine's Day. There's got to be a few tears, haven't there? Okay. And like, oh, also like if you didn't buy a kit from us, you might have like I said to if you can't get a horseradish root, just to buy like a good quality horseradish sauce. So I don't know, get it out of the fridge. There we go. So you got like a nicely peeled horseradish. Let's get rid of any mess so that we're working nice and clean all the time. I'm just going to lose my nutmeg. So I left that. And what we got?
Just Rupert again. Spoiler: champagne cocktails are delicious.
Brilliant. I haven't even shown you how to do them yet, but there we go. Okay, so you got your horseradish root and your grater. Grab yourself a little bowl and a spoon, and get your creme fraiche out of the fridge. Do you mind grating?
Yeah, of course.
Thanks. Lovely stuff. I'll tell you what, actually. If you got a booze kit from us, now's the time to open the red wine because it will give a little chance to air. But like, if you've got a bottle of red wine, you're going to have it with the main course. But like, it's always good to give your wine like a good hour or so to kind of air. So I'm going to open mine up. I've got this really beautiful Syrah, which is probably my favourite wine of last year. Okay, so you've got your creme fraiche, and this is like the most simple sauce. Just pop your creme fraiche. Excuse the like gas that I've got going on. It's the really fizzy Stella that I've got. I'm going to move on to red wine after this, and that should sort of quell that. Anyway, so stick your creme fraiche into the bowl. And
Holly says they've been on the red wine for a while.
Good on you, man. Yeah, I kind of wish I'd moved on to red wine a little while ago. I've like 3 pints of Stella is like plenty of Stella, isn't it? So get your horseradish, and you want the like finest grate you've got. If you've only got like this fat one, some graters do it, but just do it really gently so you get like quite nice thin bits of horseradish. Yeah, I'm going to use this fine bit. So you want to grate pretty much the whole half of your horseradish. Like, if you're not too fond of like heat, then don't put as much in, you know? But I reckon most people are. And like, there's so much it's going with, like, I wouldn't worry too much about putting all of it in. Okay. I'm getting there with that. Woo! It's making my eyes water loads. It'll probably make your eyes water as well. It's like when you buy wasabi, quite often what it is it's horseradish root that's dyed green. But wasabi and horseradish are so similar. Wasabi's obviously like a little bit hotter.
You chucked all the creme fraiche in, didn't you?
Yeah, I put all the creme fraiche in. I mean, like, to be fair, that's going to be loads. Like, that's going to keep. So you're going to have a horseradish sauce in your fridge for a bit. So don't worry. I mean, don't worry too much if you want to keep the creme fraiche back. Like, this is going to end up being a lot of sauce. So I mean, this is the back of the knife again, just to get rid of that. And pop your horseradish in with your creme fraiche. And then you want a decent pinch of salt. So I'm guessing like, I don't know, half a teaspoon? A third to a half a teaspoon of salt. And just so that it dissolves, I'm going to use my white sugar. I'm going to put the same amount of sugar as we did of salt. And that will just sort of lift it and bring it all together. So there we go. And then just mix it in. Hopefully your bowl's slightly bigger than mine. But this is like the most simple horseradish sauce that you can kind of produce. I mean, you could do it in a food processor if you wanted, but like this is, as far as I'm concerned, like the best way. Oh, my eyes are really watering now. Okay, cool. To me, that looks ready. Delicious. So I'm just going to stick that in the fridge until we're ready for it. Lovely. Okay, so while the board is out, we're going to do our leek. So you should have one leek. Just get rid of some of that.
Sam's got water. They've got watery eyes from their horseradish.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. I don't know if you can see, but my eyes are weeping. Cool. So you should have a leek. I like to try and keep the leek as long as possible because I'm not too fussed about the edges of the plate. I quite like it sort of hanging over the edge. But if you want to trim it down, you can. So just top it. So take the top off it. And with the tail, you don't want to cut too much off. So just as thin as you can, just cut off that kind of like dark, kind of like brownie a bit. But just like really nice and thin. You want to kind of keep as much of the root intact as possible. And you'll see why in a sec. So, leeks are obviously made up of lots of layers, like most alliums. But as they grow, they pick up the dirt from where they're growing. So in between each of these layers of the leek, you're going to find a little bit of grit and dirt. So what I like to do with this is take your knife, pop it not all the way to the bottom, but just a sort of like a centimetre or two off the bottom. Cut it all the way up to the top. So what you've got, God, this knife is so blunt. What you've got is you've got two halves of leek that's just sort of hanging on for dear life at the root. So take that, take it over to the tap, and then spread each of these layers and just run the tap through it.
Sorry, just a quick one here.
Yeah.
Maybe just been lost communicated. Claire's just saying, we completely missed about when the champagne cocktail comes out of the freezer. But I think maybe just getting confused with the...
Okay, so the granita might be what you're thinking of. The champagne cocktail we're going to do in a bit. So just make sure your champagne's in the fridge, not the freezer. And we'll move on to the champagne cocktail pretty soon. But meanwhile, we're just going to wash these leeks. So like I say, just chop them in half, but not quite all the way.
We've got a top tip from Mary's daughter.
Oh,
says
yeah?
if you fill your mouth with water, it should stop your eyes watering.
Oh, thanks, Mary's daughter. That's lovely. Okay, so we've got the leek. Once you've washed it and you've kind of kept that together, just so that it doesn't kind of lose its shape, bring it back to the board and just finish that cut. So cut through the root. So you should have two halves of leek. So obviously, if you're cooking for more than 2 people, you're going to want 3, 4, 5 halves of leek. Get a baking tray, and we're just going to prepare this. We're not going to put it in the oven just yet because it won't take very long to cook. But pop that in there. And on your larder list, you should have had some white wine vinegar listed. So grab that. I haven't actually got any in my kitchen at the moment, so I'm going to use this really nice rice vinegar that I've got.
We're getting a few jokes coming on the. Oh, carry on.
Go on, what's the
Well,
jokes?
Rebecca's saying Gav is crying and running away from the horseradish. Carolyn says she sticks out her tongue. And then another top tip from Will is not to get too emotionally attached to the horseradish.
That is fair enough. Yeah, no, definitely don't get emotionally attached to the horseradish. Cool, it's going to let you down. Okay, so grab your vinegar. So you've probably got white wine vinegar, but I've got this rice vinegar just because that's kind of all I've got. But you just want, I mean, it's quite winey, this one. It's like quite a good, pokey, winey one. Don't be shy. Put a fair amount on. You want it to kind of pervade each layer of the leek. So I've got my finger over the top. I'm not just pouring it on with gay abandon, but just like drizzle that over the top. Then you should have some vegetable oil knocking around. So you're going to want to grab that out. But first, actually I'm going to use brown sugar for this because that will give it a nice bit of colour. So sprinkle a little bit, not loads, but a little bit of brown sugar over the top. Some salt. And then I've got this rapeseed oil here, but like whatever you've got to find. In fact, olive oil will be great with this, but like you can use rapeseed oil, olive oil, sunflower oil, whatever. I've got like a really nice cold press rapeseed oil just because we got given a load, which is pretty kind. So just drizzle that over the top. Now we're not going to put that in the oven just yet, so just leave it to one side. That's ready to go in the oven, but it'll probably only take about 10 minutes, something like that. Meanwhile, I'm just going to have a quick look at the fondants and see how they're getting on. So all my butter's melted. I'll just show you. Whoops. All my butter's melted, and you can see like they're just poking up out of the water. They're nowhere near cooked, but like the bit that's poking up, that's the bit that's going to get like really nice and golden. So I'm going to put those back in. Okay, so where are we at? So we've got our leeks ready, we've got the creme fraiche ready, we've got the horseradish ready, we've got the fondants cooking, starter's basically done. I think what we're going to do now, oh, before I forget, just quickly fork your granita. So we just want to keep moving that around so that it doesn't kind of turn into an ice cube. How's ours looking?
Looking really good.
Oh, it's looking great, yeah. No, it's all good. Yeah, I can show you if you like. Thank you very much. So look, you can see ours is like well on the way to slush puppy. So you've got these like nice icy flakes. You just want to move it around. You don't want to, sorry about the sound by the way. Like you don't want to like mix it up too much. It's nice to have those kind of flakes. But because we've got sugar in there, and sugar freezes at a much lower temperature than water, you want to kind of make sure that's incorporated into the freeze. So keep it moving around. And it still smells delicious of green tea. Cool. Right. So if anyone's got any questions or anything like that, now is a good time. But we're going to move on to making the seaweed seasoning for the starter. So, last night I attempted to do it in a pestle and mortar. I do not recommend that. It's going to take quite a while. So if you have got a spice grinder or a Magimix, especially when you've got that little like mini attachment for a Magimix or something of that ilk, if you haven't, like don't worry about it at all. Just you can either tear your seaweed into as tiny bits as you can, or you can chop it with a really nice dry knife and dry board. Chop it up, but if you have got one, and luckily I have got a spice grinder. Grab your spice grinder out. You can see I haven't actually washed mine up since yesterday's. But grab your spice grinder out. Yeah, hopefully everyone's got something. I mean the pestle and mortar thing, you probably could do it. It's probably going to take a little while though. But yeah, the spice grinder is the way to go if you've got one. So grab your seaweed out of your bag. If I can find mine. Oh, here it is. It's the last thing left in my dry bag. You can grab the seaweed out. Make sure your hands are nice and dry as well. Make sure whatever you're putting into is dry. Like if this gets wet, it turns into a paste. so we don't really want that with it. So, pop your seaweed in as smaller bits as you can do into the spice grinder or pestle and mortar. I feel for you if you're using pestle and mortar, it really did take quite a long time to do. So I'm going to put that all into the spice grinder. And once you've kind of torn it up into tiny bits, I'm just going to have a look and check if anyone's commenting, because I think Ed's, the director's, just gone to the loo. Oh, I can't actually tell. Okay, brilliant, thanks. I feel like my whole life has just been grating horseradish. Celeriac is smelling divine. Nice. Okay, so we're all good. But yeah, thanks again, by the way, for everyone for joining us tonight. Like, it's really nice. Like, I said this before. Oh no, maybe I'm getting emotional now, actually. But it is like pretty nice because it does feel like I'm kind of. I think you might be above me actually. So it does feel like you're kind of with me, and that's really nice because we've all been like pretty lonely the last few weeks, and so like it's quite nice to feel like I'm sort of with people. I hope it feels the same for you. I mean, like the first one we did, I was saying it's like. It feels like a really sort of community thing, and I guess like, yeah, I'm feeling that tonight as well, which is cool. I mean, like 3 pints of Stella's definitely helped, but you know. Okay, cool. So I've torn up my 2 sheets of nori seaweed. I've put them in my spice grinder. Mine had actually got a tiny, tiny little bit soft, which is entirely my fault. But hopefully yours will bone dry. Now, grab some of your brown sugar, or if you've got it, golden caster sugar, and we're going to put in about a teaspoon.
Someone's quickly saying, we've got a stick blender, will that be okay?
It's going to be pretty hard with the stick blender. You could try. I mean, it depends on what kind of like container attachment you've got for your stick blender, but like, you could give it a go. If it doesn't work, I mean, like, honestly, it doesn't really matter if this is, like, little bits, but the aim is to get a kind of seasoning that you can sprinkle over. If you end up with kind of bits of seaweed, like, it's still going to taste good, basically.
Mary's just saying thank you for organising this.
Oh,
and Sam's also said thank you, it's really fun and really missing more from social.
Oh, man, me too. Yeah, thank you very much. So I've just put a teaspoon of brown sugar, of demerara sugar in there, and I'm going to put the same of salt.
Did you say to put sugar in?
Yes. So you've got sugar, seaweed, and salt at the moment. Now, a good grind of pepper. I think I've got some already in mine, so put that in. A good grind of black pepper, or white pepper, or pink pepper, or Szechuan pepper. Just like a nice little bit of kick for it. And then, if I remember how to do this spice grinder.
Claire's also enjoying herself and saying thank you.
Good. So yeah, let's go. Grind it up. I'm just going to quick look and see where it's at. Oh wow. I don't know if you can see that from above, but I've got this like beautiful sort of seaweed seasoning powder basically. So you're probably going to have almost like almost too much of this. So you can keep it. Like this is going to be so delicious on just like some steamed rice or like a bit of fish or a salad, like whatever. It's like going to be great. Actually, I'm going to keep this because I'm going to pour it out into the lid.
So someone's saying they've got a whole range of bowls. What's best?
Of bowls?
Bowls, yeah, or a pestle and mortar.
I mean, pestle and mortar, you will be able to do this, but it's going to take an awful long time. See if you can find something, like what have they got? What does it say?
A whole range of bowls.
Of bowls? I mean, Magimix would be great. I mean, someone was saying they had a stick blender. Like, I reckon you could probably get it to work with a stick blender, but you need like the attachment so that you can turn it upside down, because that will really make it work. Otherwise, just like chop it really finely before it goes in the pestle and mortar with the salt and the sugar. Make sure all of that's in there before you start to grind, and just kind of like work on it for a bit. It like really doesn't matter if you don't get it as fine as this. Like if you've got like chunks of seaweed, but your like salt and sugar's kind of ground, it's going to be great. Let me just have a little taste, actually.
Jack's asking, would you recommend it as fish food?
Sure. Maybe like without so much salt. God, it's so tasty. Right, lovely. Okay, so we've got our seasoning for the starter. We've got the slurric fondants. The leeks are ready to go in. The granita's nearly there. The cake's good. Actually, cake, there we go. So your cake should be almost at room temperature now. Yeah, pretty much. So stick it in the fridge or outside. I mean, I'd recommend putting it outside because, you know, it's outside. Do you reckon you can get it outside with all that stuff in the way? Okay, cool. So I've got Ed putting it outside for me. So Ed is from Neon Feature Films, and he is kindly agreed to do this for us. Me and Ed are also working on like quite an exciting little project, which is kind of a sort of cooking show. So hopefully that will be out soonish.
Oh, sorry. Should it be the consistency of fish food?
It should be the consistency of fish food, sure. I mean, depending on which fish food you're using. I mean, like, you know, there's a lot of fish foods out there, man. But yeah. So me and Ed are working on this like cooking show project, which should be quite cool.
A couple of videos hopefully dropping soon.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wicked. So yeah, it's going to come out pretty soon. I'm going to pour myself a glass of wine. If I can find a glass.
Lovely words from Claire. She says she's totally with it. We followed the entire way. Great speed. Really perfect to follow. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. Wicked. Let's have a drink to that then. So yeah, I don't know if anyone's on there who got the kit with us. Like, this wine is just like, I really like it. It's like such an easy drinker.
Just an update on Sun.
Oh,
We found the blender back in the cupboard.
Okay.
It's vintage, but it seems to be working.
good. You've done it. Right. So now is the time to kind of start to kind of clear everything up and finish everything. I know what I've forgotten. Let's do the chantilly cream at the moment while this kind of starter's still curing. So clear your decks a little bit. I'm going to get rid of my grinder. So clear your decks down a bit. And I'm probably going to have to wash up a bowl to do my cream. And guess what? Just because I want to have solidarity with you, I'm going to do it by hand. So I'm going to wash up my whisk, and I'm going to wash up a decent sized bowl. So you're going to need your double cream. So it's 250 ml double cream. You're going to need your brandy, and you should have some icing sugar. If you haven't got icing sugar, don't worry too much, because I'll show you how to do it with some caster sugar, which you definitely have got. But yeah, if you want to get those bits out and make sure you've got a nice clean whisk.
James has used the offcuts of the sea bream to make a little starter for the Springer Spaniel. He's buzzing for it.
Wicked. Well, lucky old Springer Spaniel, that's what I say. Okay, cool. By the way, if anyone's got any photos, like cakes and stuff, now is a really good time to send them to us. So if you hashtag us with WS Valentines, then we should.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it hasn't been working too well.
Oh, really?
But if they add them on the Facebook chat.
So rather than the hashtag, tonight we're gonna, if you comment with your photo on the live stream, then we can bring them up and we can have a look at your photos and we can all judge them and like either make you feel really small or swell your ego. It depends on what you provide. Cool. So I've got a nice clean bowl now and clean whisk. Just dry that out. You guys have probably got more bowls, but I'll hang back for a little bit while I get my ingredients out. So brandy, icing sugar, which I have got somewhere. There we go. Icing sugar and double cream. Do you mind just grabbing me a double cream? It's the Jersey one. Yeah, that's it. Lovely. So if everyone feels kind of up to speed, we'll just quickly do this cream, and then I think we were almost there. I don't know how long ago it was that we put the fish in, but or what time it is. Oh yeah, we're kind of there. Okay, so grab yourself a tablespoon.
Did only the horseradish go in the creme fraiche?
It was just horseradish, a little bit of salt and sugar, and that was it. Yeah. And like, that's it, as simple as that. You really don't need to do a lot to it. Okay, so you've got icing sugar here. So put in a really nice hefty tablespoon, sorry, 2 hefty tablespoons of icing sugar. And you can flavour this cream with anything you want, but seeing as we're using brandy for the cocktail and we've all got it, let's put some brandy. So it's going to be about a shot or a shot and a half. Don't go crazy because your cream won't whip. So you want the flavour of it, but you don't want to like scupper yourself. Okay, and then you should have 250 ml of double cream. So just pour that in. So you've got sugar, brandy and cream. If you haven't got icing sugar, before you put the cream in, use caster sugar and just start to mix your brandy and sugar together so that you start to dissolve that sugar a little bit sooner. And then before you start whisking with gusto, just whisk it on a really nice slow speed, or if you're doing it by hand, just sort of muddle it nice and slowly until some of that sugar's dissolved. Okay, so here you go. This is what you wanted. I'm going to do it by hand. Like, if you've got an electric whisk, use it, please. Like, this is going to give you a little chance to kind of catch up with me if you're lagging behind.
Just how much brandy again?
It's about a shot and a half. Like, don't put, like, it's tempting because we all love booze to put loads in, but you won't get the cream to whip if you put too much in. So I'd say like 25 to 50 mils will give you like a good amount of flavour, but won't kind of ruin the whip of your cream. And obviously you want your bowl, your whisk and your cream to be nice and cold. If it's hot, it will like, it will start to sort of melt the fat in the cream and it will make it much, much harder to whisk. But yeah, like I say, if anyone's got any photos or has got any more questions, now's a good time.
So, another one on the photo, so I'm trying to work it out. If they can just send it to direct on Facebook with the image, I'll be able to find it in the image.
Okay, fine.
I don't think you can put it on this thread.
Okay, fine. So apparently you can't put it on the thread. So just direct message on Facebook, Woolf and Social, with your images, and at some point we will then be able to bring up your pictures. Oh, my wrist hurts. No jokes, please, thank you. But yeah, it's actually almost getting there because my cream is so nice and cold. Oh, crikey. I have to use my left hand. Look, to be fair, I've got carpal tunnel syndrome and like it is kind of painful to do stuff like this, so don't laugh. Okay, we're nearly there.
Justin, it does taste much better though if you do hand whisk, so...
Do you reckon? I don't know. I think it kind of tastes the same, but that is fair enough. Okay, cool. So you've got the cream there. I'm going to pop mine, because my fridge won't fit that bowl, into a little Tupperware, because we're not going to need that until the dessert. So I'm just going to pop that into the Tupperware and stick it away in the fridge until we're ready for it. So that's basically the entire dessert done, isn't it? So we've done the cake, we've toasted the almonds, and we've got this like...
How thick are we going?
Pretty thick. Oh, it's so good. Right, that I probably would put over my head. Do you know what I mean? Like, can you see? So, it's really good. I put quite a lot of brandy in mine as well. Right, we're sticking that in the fridge. Cheers. Have a little swig of wine. Right, we're so nearly done. So what we're going to do is, now is the time to kind of let me know if there's any kind of issues or anything that you're like new catching up with. But it's also the time to like light a candle, put some smooth music on, maybe a bit of Sade or something like that. Chill your champagne flutes. I haven't got flutes, I've got coupes, but whatever you've got. What else could you do now? Work out what plates you want to use for your starter and for your main and your dessert. You know, get it all nice and ready. Because what we're going to do in a moment, we're going to make the cocktail. We're going to plate the starter, and you guys are going to go off and eat it. And then you're going to come back and join me in sort of 20-25 minutes, and I'll show you how to just finish the main. But like, we've pretty much done everything. Like, this is pretty good. What's the time? Yeah, so it's 20 to 9. So maybe come back and join me about sort of 10 past 9, quarter past 9, and we'll like get everything else sorted. So let me just look at my list and see if I've forgotten anything. Oh yeah, I did forget something, but it's a bit late. But yeah, don't worry about it. Nothing. Whatever. If you've got another orange, a little bit of zest for the cocktail would be good, but I forgot to do that right at the start. Anyway, so your ketchup in the fridge, your granita, you can have another little look at that, give it a little fork, chill your glasses, like I say, set the table, make sure you've got your herbs nicely chopped and ready, and your seasoning for the fish. I'm going to pop these away, pop all this stuff for wash up. So, we are almost there. I think the order we'll do this is, let's put the leeks in now. So the leeks will probably take about 20 minutes, something like that. 20-25 minutes. So we'll probably want to take those out fairly soon. But pop your leeks in. I can see that the fondant's nearly there. So I think that's the right timing for the leeks and the fondants. Like, your fondants should be sort of starting to go kind of like a sort of plaster, an alabaster white on top with a few sort of like goldeny brown bits. And if you pop your leeks in now as well, they'll be perfectly cooked by the time we come to serve them. But let's do the cocktail so that you and your lover can have a good drink. All good? You're just laughing because I said lover.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jack's wondering.
What's Jack?
Sticking to the Valentine's theme, would you say the thicker the better?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I reckon Jack's had a drink. Right, so grab some of your Demerara sugar, your 2 champagne glasses, whether they be flutes, coupes, or tumblers, whatever, pint glasses. You're going to get a spoonful of the, actually, a kind of level teaspoonful of your Demerara sugar. Pop that in. I'm just going to go to my dining room and get a... Is that going to reach? Yeah. Get orange? No. Oh, no way. I've got the pink grapefruit. Here you go. So if you did get pink grapefruit, there you go, look. Grab a peel. I'm going to give mine a quick wash because it was horseradish looking on it. And just do like a really gentle little... Oh, really gentle? Oh no, it's not working. Really gentle little bit of peel. Stick that in. If you've got an orange, I mean, like, even a lemon would be fine. There we go. So, get your bitters. Mary, hopefully, did you get my bitters that I sent you, Mary? Hopefully you did. Fingers crossed. So, last night I used like some grapefruit bitters that I found in the cupboard under the stairs. But tonight I'm going to use Angostura bitters, which I think is what I asked everyone else to get. Just 3 drops. Whoops. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then a shot of brandy. So I'm not going to measure it. I'm just going to do it by eye. So it's about sort of 4 to 5 seconds with your thumb over the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. That looks about right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then with your teaspoon. So can you see those from above?
Yep.
Great. So with your teaspoon, just give them a little muddle. You don't want to dissolve all the sugar. You want that sugar to kind of sit at the bottom of the glass. Just give it a nice little muddle. And I know someone who wants one of these. So grab your champagne out. Oh yeah, I forgot we get to drink champagne. Can you grab the one to the furthest left, please? I believe that's the right one. Yeah. This is such lovely champagne. This is like a Barnard Blanc de Noir, and it's like kind of a little bit sweet and a little bit like, well no, it's not sweet, but it's like off dry, I guess. It's made with Pinot Noir grapes, and it's freaking lovely champagne. But like this, like last night we drank this with Cremant, and that worked lovely as well. And I know someone who is desperate for a glass of this, so I'm gonna just, you might just have to bear with me for like 30 seconds while I deliver it. Woo! So there we go. So just pour it down kind of the side of the glass so you don't stir up that sugar too much. And fill it up. Do you want one of these, Ed?
Oh yeah, please. We've just been sent some of our first images.
Woohoo! So can we see those?
I will be just putting them through the machine. Can we see that?
Very cool. So while you do that, I'm just going to deliver this drink then to you, my lovely girlfriend Alice. There you go, mate. That's yours. I'm going to just unplug the sound for a second. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. All good?
All good. Right.
So have you got the image up?
No, it will be there in a
So I probably should have had this red wine because now I really want a glass of champagne. I'm just going to have a glass of champagne. I hope that's alright with everyone. Definitely alright with me. Let's just get a glass.
Cool. And actually, on the way back, we can have a look at the images now.
Oh yeah? Let's have a
So
look then.
Amy has sent them in.
Can you zoom in on that at all? That looks amazing. I'm not even sure what it is.
So it's
That's a dog!
with a little
Oh, that's
starter.
the dog's fish starter. Oh, that is awesome.
Um,
And someone's already started on the chocolate cake.
yeah.
That is absolutely brilliant.
And a little romance between.
Look
Is
at
that a frog?
Is it?
And a
No,
dog.
it's not a frog, is it?
I don't know, I mean,
It does look like a frog.
very romantic.
Or maybe like sort of a guinea pig in costume.
And
who's
here
this
we
guy?
Go.
Nice.
Working hard at it.
You guys are doing a great job. I love it. Absolutely smashing it.
Cool.
Wicked, thanks. If anyone else wants to send some photos, it'd be much appreciated because it sort of gives me something to talk about. Hang on, let's see. I've got some messages on Facebook and Instagram. Not Instagram. What do you call it? Amy Grant. Oh, cool. Perfect. Yeah. So we've just had a look at those, haven't we? And then, Claire. I know my phone is being weird, but connecting the laptop. Francis is bloody marvellous. Me and the buff. Or I assume that means boyfriend. I'm loving it. Thanks so much. Cheers, Claire. Really nice to hear from you as well. Like, it's been such a blinking long time. Thank you. And then what have I got? Here we go. Oh no way! I've got a picture from Ryan of his cake, and it says it rose. So I'm very pleased for you. In fact, I'll drink to that. So Ryan's cake rose. Let's have a little drink. Now then, right. This is the important bit. So I've shown you how to do the cocktail. Oh yeah, cheers, chin chin. So. Genesis cocktail. Let's serve up the starter, and then I'll give you a good sort of 20 minutes, whatever. Let me know when you're back, basically after the starter, and we'll just do the main. Basically, this is the home straight, so pretty much everything's done. The only thing really we need to do is cook the steak and like plate some stuff up. So, well, that's a bit of a dirty plate. Let me find a nice one.
Little from Holly saying, I think I put too much brandy into the cream and now it's scrambled egg. Any way to save it or shall I accept my fate?
If it's scrambled egg, it probably means you've over whipped it. So probably because you put quite a lot of brandy in it, it meant that it was like it wasn't quite getting stiff. So you probably then ended up over whipping it. To be honest, I would cut your losses and leave it as it is. It will still taste quite nice.
Who doesn't like scrambled egg and brandy?
Me? It will still taste quite nice, but if I were you, I'd just cut your losses and just have a really delicious gooey chocolate cake with some toasted almonds. That's probably your best bet. Okay, I think we're ready to plate the starter. So Ed, if you wouldn't mind grabbing the fish up for me.
We're getting photos coming in now. It's getting quite tech over here.
Oh yeah.
Wait, what are we getting?
The fish, please. So actually, I'm going to plate it on some nice big white plates instead. Okay, so let's have a look. Grab your fish out of the fridge and we'll have a look at it. Mine is just about there. So let me just get a spoon. Okay, so your fish should have a kind of like white sort of lustre around the edge of it. Mine definitely has. It's like, it's pretty good. If you wanted to like have a little drink first, it could maybe use 5 minutes, but I'm just going to show you how to plate it now anyway. I'm just going to have a little taste and see what it's like. Oh no, it's great. No, go for it. It's perfect. So you want that like sort of like meaty, right, acidic texture. It's great. However, if you do taste it at this point, you'll notice that it is desperate for salt. So our seasoning, our seaweed seasoning that we made is quite salty. However, I'd like you to put just like a little pinch of salt in with the fish. So we're going to put a little pinch of salt in with the fish now. And give that a nice sort of mix around. Probably use a spoon actually rather than a fork like me. But, it's really tasty. So once that's all mixed up, leave it for a sec. You're going to grab, if you've got some chives, just grab like 2 or 3 and put them on the plate. So can people see what I'm doing?
They can.
And or if people sending photos and stuff that I should look at?
Or? No, I'm just working on that.
Okay, cool. So you've got your 2 plates with the chives on, and then what we'll do is we'll just kind of like bisect the chives at an angle with the fennel and fish that we've got here. So let's just pop that on. I should definitely be using a spoon. I don't know why I picked up a fork. I do know why. It's because the spoons are all the way over here. Okay, so let's spoon that on. So obviously you want like half and half. So half of it on one plate and half of it on t'other. There we go. And all the juice is good. So all of that kind of like citrusy goodness, keep it on the plate. And if you've got a decent olive oil, or as I've got like a really nice cold pressed rapeseed oil, think about where that is right now, because we're going to put some of that on the plate as well. Just put a little bit more on this. Okay, so just have a bit of juice, just drizzle that over. There we go. Pop that off to one side. And then grab your plate of chilli and chopped chives. So the first thing to go on is the chopped chives. Again, half on each. There we go. And then the other one. And that's going to give you a really nice, strong sort of oniony allium flavour. And then again, depending on how much heat you like, depends on how much chilli you want to put on. But I know that everyone in this house likes chilli, so I'm going to put plenty on there. Okay, So we've got chili and chives all on there, ready to rock. Now finally, actually not finally, sorry, grab your olive oil or rapeseed oil or whatever you've got. Like olive oil would be great. And just drizzle a little bit around the edge of the plate. So hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing here. And then this is the thing that's going to like completely finish this dish and make it amazing. You've got your seaweed seasoning, which has got that sweetness, the salt, and the salt is what this dish really, really needs. It's like crying out for it. So don't be shy. A little bit around, a little bit over the top. And when you serve it, stick this on the side so that you can kind of season as you go. There we go. And a bit over the top. Okay, so I'm happy with those. Let me just show you kind of what I've done. So you've got your semi-cured sea bream.
A little bit more that way.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
So you've got your semi-cured sea bream with blood orange juice, blood orange zest, fennel. You've got chopped chili, chives, and your seaweed seasoning, and that is ready to go. You should have your cocktails ready to go. So I'm going to leave you now to go and enjoy your starter, and I'll see you back here in about sort of 20 minutes. I'd say just before we go, just turn your oven down a little bit so you're like comfortable to ignore it. So I've turned mine down to 150 degrees.
Don't forget sending those photos.
Yep.
Let's get those photos sent in.
Yeah, send in your photos of your starter, or just like go and like enjoy it and make love. See you in a bit. Hopefully people can hear me now.
You know,
Yeah, cool. So I don't know if anyone's like with me or still eating, but now is a very important time to turn your oven down to its lowest setting because your fondants should be cooked. Mine are. And your leeks will definitely be cooked now. So just turn it down to its lowest setting so they can just kind of sit and relax. I hope everyone's enjoyed the starters. We've got loads of pictures. So just while people are kind of finishing off, we're going to just have a look at some people's pictures of their food. So let's have a look.
okay, so this person's from
Wow,
Tom.
look at those cakes. Is that Tom Barrett?
I believe so.
Wow. I mean, those look flipping amazing. I mean, that's better than mine, which is quite annoying. But yeah,
Here he is
amazing.
at work.
Look at that. And there he is. The man, the legend, the myth that is Tom Barrett. Look at that beard.
It's another update from Amy and the dog. Let's get
Nice. The dog looks happy. I'm glad they've enjoyed their fish skin.
It's from Sam. They've done a good job, haven't they?
Oh, yes. Look at that, Sam. You've absolutely nailed that. And you've got the same IKEA plates as me. They are brilliant. And who's this?
KG.
Kate, did you say?
Yes.
Yeah, nice. And 2 cakes. So you can have one tonight, one tomorrow. And I don't know who that is
Also
cooking,
from
but
Kate here as well.
what a oh, wow. I really love that. You guys have absolutely nailed this. This is amazing.
There's Rebecca.
Oh, yes, Rebecca. Cheers. Hang on. Let me grab my glass and I'm going to cheers you. You won't be able to see me, but I am doing it. Cheers.
I think this must have been back on the horseradish.
Yeah, so
This is Rebecca's other half.
let's have a look. Oh, yes. Look at that. That is a horseradish face if ever I've seen one.
And then James.
James, you've excelled yourself, mate. Look at those. Flipping brilliant. I mean, I hope everyone's enjoyed it. I've just eaten mine. And we gave the other one to my neighbour who's just finished work at the hospital, which is quite cool. And also a glass of champagne.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
cool. All right, so we're back. Hopefully everyone's with me. If you haven't already, I mean, I should have said this ages ago. Hopefully I did and they've just forgotten. But your steaks should have been out of the fridge. If they're not, really sorry, but grab them out. I forgot to get mine out of the fridge, so mine are really cold. But the first thing you should do is, and I just need to quickly wash mine up, get your sharp knife, or if you're me, your sharp-ish knife, and get your steaks out of the packet, because they really need to, man, this knife's so bad. They really need to get up to room temperature. So get them out. Stick them on one side of your board while they're raw, because we're gonna. Well, it's up to you. You don't have to do this, but like we're gonna then when they're cooked, we're gonna slice them on the other side of the board. Oh, my bin is getting quite full. So yeah, like if you're not quite done with your starter and your drink and all that sort of stuff, like don't worry about it. But because we've got a little moment or two. If you have got a sec, just check your oven. Check your leeks, make sure they're not burning. Mine are perfect. And your God, I can't see now. What do you call them? The Slayer fondants. Just pop a knife into them. Make sure it goes in nice and smoothly. It will do. Yeah. They are cooked to perfection. So, like I say, put your oven down to its lowest setting because you just want to keep that stuff warm now. And this is the good bit. We're going to do the steaks. But before we do the steaks, I'm going to show you, if you don't mind grabbing the cake for me, Ed, that'd be fantastic. I'm going to show you how, after your main course, how I would like you to plate your granita and your cake. So, for the granita, get a glass or a little bowl, whatever you've got, and you should have kept back 2 slices of lime. Pop a slice of lime in your glass. Oh, sorry, hang on. My back door's got a real knack to it, so I'm just going to... So Ed's just going to grab the cake. I'm going to grab my granita out. So sorry for the Sorry if you can't see me, but it's probably a slightly refreshing break for you. So I've got my granita. I think, are we on the side camera?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got my granita out, and you can see it's like frozen. And I'm just going to fork it up a little bit.
Go to top camera now.
We're going to swap cameras, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So you can see this. So I've got my glass, a little slice of lime. I mean, if you want, you can cut it and stick it inside like a sexy cocktail. Speaking of which, have you got any like tequila or vodka or whatever? You can turn this into a little boozy experience. So once you've put your granita into your glass or bowl or ramekin or whatever you've got, you can pour a little shot of booze over it if you fancy.
Just checking, the leeks are still in the oven, aren't they?
They are, but your oven should be down to its lowest setting because they should be cooked. So you want to just keep it at its lowest setting. So there we go. Oh, have I just turned on the mic again? Yeah, hang on. Ooh. Oh no, you've still got me, hopefully. So that's it. So there you go. You've got your granita there, and I'm going to have a little taste of it because I want to know what you're tasting. So, so like I say, don't do this now. Do this after your main course. But I'm just showing you now so that I can leave you alone in a bit. I mean, mine tastes really strongly of green tea, and just the lime and the sugar just bring that out. There's no other flavour really than green tea, so that's perfect as far as I'm concerned. Regarding your cake, so if you've got a square tin like me, you're going to need to turn it out. So I've just realised I haven't got a spare chopping board. I'm going to use a plate. So my plate won't quite fit it, but it'll be alright. So my plate doesn't even close to fit it. But mine's been outside, yours might have been in the fridge, whatever. Like I say, you aren't doing this now. You are kind of waiting to cook your main course. But I'm just going to release my cake by putting it over my gas hob for like a few seconds. And that's just going to melt the butter that we put around the edge. So I'm just popping it over the hob. Getting the tin warm, basically, rather than the actual cake. So that might even do it. I hope so. We'll soon find out. So then pop your plate over it, flip it over, and if you've got a little bit of baking parchment taking out, that will help you pull it out. Let me pop that somewhere else. So like I keep saying, you probably shouldn't be doing this now. This is for after you've eaten your main course. And then obviously you're onto your granita first, and then your dessert. I'm going to show you how to plate it now, so that you know what to do once I've naffed off. Okay, I'm going to put another plate over the top, flip it over. There we go.
Ooh la la.
Yeah, exactly. It looks alright, doesn't it? And then grab a knife. I'm going to use this old bread knife that I've got. Hopefully you can see that. And again, I'm just going to warm it up slightly. And then you can cut this into any shape you want. I'm just going to cut a nice little square out of it for now. Actually, I'm going to plate it up on there, so I'll just get rid of that. Okay, so warm your knife up. Don't get it too hot because you don't want to ruin your knife. So just warm it up. And I'll cut a little triangular piece out of it. Okay. And like I say, this is cake for days. So let's get rid of that. And obviously you're plating this up for 2 people when you do it. And like I say, like I keep saying, we're not doing this right now. This is for later, once you've eaten your main course. So, you've got your cake, grab your cream out of the fridge, so there's a little small Tupperware with the cream in the fridge. You get a dessert spoon. You'll notice I've still got my hob on, That's because I'm going to warm my spoon slightly. So just warm your spoon a little bit. And you should have your brandy chantilly cream. And like, it really doesn't matter if you get this as pretty as hopefully I'm going to. But essentially what you want to do is angle your spoon slightly towards yourself and just pull it across the cream so that you end up with a nice dollop, let's say, of cream there. Then grab your toasted almonds from earlier and just drop those down the side. And that's going to be your dessert for tonight. So like I say, we're not doing this right now. This is just how I would like you to plate your cake, but I'd love to see how you decide to plate it. I mean, you can spread the cream, put the cake on top, you can cut your cake into, you could cut your cake out with your biscuit cutter or your heart cutter, whatever. But like, hopefully you can see there, like the cake's got that nice sort of gooey centre and it's going to be absolutely delicious. So I'm just going to move that to one side. And now, hopefully, if everyone's ready, let me know if you're not ready. Let me know if you're like, oh, shoot.
Sorry, we're going through the other mic as well. We've got 2 mics.
Okay, fine. We've got 2 mics apparently. So hopefully you still heard me, but I accidentally unplugged my mic. But if you should hopefully have seen now how to plate up your granita and how to plate up your starter. How to plate up your dessert. We're going to move on to the steaks. So I'm sorry if I slightly neglected to get you to get your steaks out a bit earlier. Mine are still fairly cold. You can cook them from cold, but it's better if they're at room temperature. I'm going to move my camera so that you can see how I'm cooking these steaks. So just bear with me. Oh, sorry.
I think you'll be right. All you need to do is if you bring that onto that one there, you come down. Okay. And then walk it back. Just
sorry. Okay.
Cool. And then
spin it.
Yeah, spin it around a lot more towards me.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, keep coming.
Yeah.
Keep coming.
Because I'm just cooking here.
Yeah. Oh no, at the moment you're well, and then bring it back a little. So no, as in like your left hand, bring towards the wall.
Oh yeah. Like that.
Cool, and everyone's enjoying themselves.
Oh, good.
Actually, wait, I'm just coming.
Okay. So. What have we got? We've got side view still. Okay, sorry. I'm just gonna get out of the way while Ed sorts the camera out for real because I don't have a clue what I'm doing.
We're almost there.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, cool. So, this is like the last step in the meal. So, thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you've had a good drink and you're happy and you kind of know what you're doing. For this, you're going to need your steaks, which should be kind of out, and hopefully, mine are nearly now at room temperature. I'm really sorry that I forgot to tell you to open up the fridge a bit earlier, but they should be nice and at room temperature. You're going to need some salt. Get that to hand. You're going to need the last bit of your butter. If you've got a couple of garlic cloves or half a bulb, grab that. And if you've still got a bit of thyme or whatever you've got, bay leaf, whatever, just like something to kind of give it a little bit of like depth. So I've got a couple of garlic cloves and I've got a little sprig of thyme. I've got some butter. And then make sure you've got some vegetable oil, rapeseed oil, sunflower oil, anything like that. Not olive oil for this because it burns at too low a temperature. So you want your vegetable oil, which you should have had from your larder ingredients. Right, I'm going to have one more little swigger. So good. That red. Sorry, do you mind popping that back in the fridge just for now? Now then, grab yourself out your skillet pan, frying pan, whatever it is you've got. If I can find mine, which is down here. Whoa. Mine's managed to attach itself to the spice grinder, but I'm trying not to brain that camera. So we're going to put the pan onto the heat. Choose your hottest hob and turn it to its highest temperature. So I've got this like quite nice big one. If you've got the same, sorry, if you've got these kind of small ones, which most kind of standard hobs have, just make sure you've got it as absolute highest temperature and get that on. So put the pan on there and get your rapeseed oil or sunflower oil or vegetable oil, whatever you've got, and put a bit in there. You don't want to drown it, so not too much, but just enough to coat the bottom of the pan. There we go. And we leave that for a little bit. We want that to get super, super hot, okay? The hotter the better, essentially. So now we're going to go over to the steaks. Hopefully, can they see these?
Swing it around.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can, and then push the board towards the wall more. Let's just say the oil. No. Sorry, no. Just the board.
Oh, push the board towards
Yeah. So the oil at the moment is in prime spot. So we're,
fine.
There
Okay, so there's our steaks, and we've got all our other ingredients kind of about there. So grab your salt, and you're gonna put, this isn't going to be all the salt we use. We're going to salt these twice. So a little bit of salt on each side, and make sure you get some salt into that fat. If you've got sirloin steaks like I have, get some salt ground kind of into that fat. Turn them over, and the same again. Have we got everyone here?
You have, yeah. Tom's just saying he's got a new induction hob. Are you sure? I'm guessing.
Am I sure about putting on its highest heat?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe with induction, slightly lower until you're ready to cook. But when you're cooking these, whack it up to its highest heat. When we turn them, you'll see, but when we turn them for the second time, that's when you're going to probably want to turn it down if you're using induction. But there we go. You can hear, I can hear that my pan is hot. However, make sure you've got a fork to hand or some tongs. Some tongs would work probably even better. So I'm going to just waz the camera over. Is that okay? Can you see?
That's good, yeah.
Yep. Cool, so make sure you've got no distractions because we're about to do the cooking of the steak and we do not want to get it wrong. Okay. So, grab your first steak and if you've got a sirloin like me, stick it fat side down and just check the temperature of the pan. I mean, like, hopefully you can hear that. It is super sizzling. So, stick it fat side down and hold it there. And stick your other one in as well. We want to cook these evenly, and we're gonna have these rare. If you want it medium, cook it a bit longer. So I guess rare is like a minute to a minute and a half on each side, and medium is like 2 minutes. I mean, there's another way of telling, which I think is probably now is not the time to teach you, but it's like. So essentially, if you squeeze your thumb muscle like that, that's blue, rare, medium, well done. Yeah? But we're going to go for rare. And this is loose, so don't squeeze because that will tense it. So, like, if you gently put it to there, you can feel the change in your thumb muscle, and that's what you want your steak to feel like. So while I've been waffling on about that, the fat has started to release from the steak, and I'm just going to pop them down on one side. And you can see how hot this is. I'm going to put my extraction on, so it's going to get a bit loud, sorry. And after it's had about 10 seconds, flip it over for the first time. And this is the moment where we want to season these up. So grab your salt. I've got a fair heft of salt on the side of the split. And we want that to go on for, I guess, just under a minute. While those are cooking, grab a plate or something else that's kind of heat-proof, get that out, and pop it on the hob next door to where you're cooking. You want the plate to get a little bit warm. Okay. almost there on that side. Okay, so count to 10 and then turn them over. And you can see they're getting that nice sort of caramelisation on the other side. So you flip them over nice and quickly. Grab any thyme, bay, rosemary, whatever you want. I'm using thyme and garlic. Chuck that in the pan, along with that knob of butter that you've got. I've got slightly too much left, so I'm just going to break mine in half and chuck it into the pan. Get a spoon. I think I've run out of spoons, so I'm just going to quickly mix them out. Grab a spoon, and while those are going, we're just going to spoon that kind of tiny butter over the top. And that side needs another little season as well, so another little bit of salt. Okay, now start to spoon that foaming butter, garlic and thyme over the top of your steak. Making sure to keep it in contact with the heat as much as possible. Okay, we're nearly there. So the reason we've got this plate is because in a moment we're going to move these steaks over to the plate. We're going to cover them loosely and just pour our fat over the top of them. So we're nearly there. Like I said, if you want like a minute to a minute and a half on each side, and I reckon we've just about had a minute and a half on this side. So I'm just going to give them a little feel. Yep, they feel good to me. We're going to whip those out with the thyme and the garlic. Look at that. There we go. Look at that coloration we've got. Whip them out onto your plate. Pour the rest of the fat, garlic, thyme, etc. Is it steaming up?
No, it's ready.
Okay, good.
Get on the action.
Fat, thyme, garlic, etc. over the top. So you don't want to waste it. I mean, or like in another situation, you'd use this pan then to make another sauce, but we've already made our horseradish and crayfish sauce, so we don't need any of this. But any of the sort of fat and bits that you've got in there, pop them in the pan. Pop them on the plate. And then, if you've got some, grab some tin foil or baking parchment or whatever you've got. Actually, I think I've got one. Here we go. So I've got a bit of tin foil here, which I would recommend. So I'm going to turn the heat off. Pop a bit of tin foil over the top. Cover it loosely. You don't want to cover it really tightly. You don't want it to sweat. Just cover it loosely to keep the heat in. You want that to stay nice and warm. Okie doke. So now it's time to sort of clear down, move things up. Turn your oven off now. So my oven is completely off. Locate those few chives that we saved and pop those out ready. Get everything else away that you're not using, that you don't need, that you don't want. Make sure your red wine is poured. Hopefully you've finished your champagne by now. I think we nearly have. All good?
Yeah, I think it's gone.
So I'm going to have a little drink. Whoops. I just need to pour red wine down. Oh yeah. So to there.
Yeah, and then you can
kind of lift it up a little bit.
Yeah, just
okay, so
and then just move the whole base towards me a bit.
Towards you.
That'll be fine. And then shift the top shit we've lost him.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, back in.
Yeah. Okie doke. So take a deep breath. Relax. Those steaks are going to want sort of 5 minutes to rest at least. So, let us know if you've enjoyed your starters. Let us know what you're drinking. I'm going to have another little glass of this beautiful Syrah that I've got. Cool. I mean, Valentine's Day should be boozy, shouldn't it? But yeah, like I said, so that's how we're going to attempt to plate our granita. Mine's sort of started to melt a little bit, but hopefully you caught that before we get the steaks. We've got the chocolate cake, which are kind of roughly plated, like, you know, trying to make it kind of nice.
So well, we've got a few minutes. So we had Sun Glory. They missed the when we came in to plate the cake.
Yeah.
And granita. So maybe you could do a 2-minute quick run through.
Yeah, fine. Absolutely. So for your granita, shall I do to this camera?
Yeah.
So for your granita, grab a glass, a wine glass, a coupe, or a ramekin, or like a small bowl. Scrape your granita with your fork. Like, by the time you guys get around to plating it after you've eaten your main, it's going to be really kind of solid. In fact, now is probably a good time to kind of give it a sort of mix up with your fork to make sure it's kind of like nice sort of granity sort of crystals. Pop that into a glass with the slice of lime that I got you to save from the start. And that is it. It's as simple as that. And that's just going to cleanse your palate before the dessert. And the dessert, your cake, which hopefully should be cooling either in your fridge or outside. If it's not, stick it out now, it'll still be fine. Turn your hob on and warm up a knife and just slice through in whatever shape you want. So you could use your biscuit cutter if you wanted, or what I did with mine, which is here, is I just cut a slice out of it. Then again, with a tablespoon, just slightly warm it over the heat, and you can just scrape some of the cream, pop it on top, and sprinkle it over the toasted almonds that we did earlier, and that is going to be absolutely beautiful. So that's how I reckon you should do your desserts. So we're just going to move back to the steak now. So get your board, get your plates that we're going to plate up on. Mine are ice cold, so I asked you to turn your oven off, which means it will still be nice and warm. However, it won't burn them. So I'm going to pop my plates just into the oven for a moment or two, just to bring them up to kind of not ice cold. And also, like, the longer these steaks get to rest, the kind of softer they'll be. So when you get a steak, especially if it's kind of quite cold, and you cook it, it sort of shocks the muscle and makes it kind of tense up, essentially. And what we're looking to do with the kind of fat that we're basting it with, and with the time that we're using to rest it, is to get those muscle fibres just to like slowly relax. And what it will do is it will release some blood, essentially. It will release some juice. So under this tin foil, I'll probably find a little pool of kind of like fat and blood. And what we want to do is kind of just let that all relax, let it kind of chill, and then when we get to kind of like slicing it and plating it, then it's going to be really smooth, really easy, and really flipping delicious. So you have got those plates in the oven. Like, they don't need very long, just to kind of like get up to temperature. So mine are nice and warm now. Bring them out.
So we've got some lovely shout-outs going on.
Oh,
Sylvia's having a wonderful time by the sounds of it.
Kingman.
A lot of spelling mistakes, but I mean that means how like it. They've loved it.
Spelling mistakes from me.
Oh no, from her, as in like, you know, trying to write with too much enjoyment. I would say
great.
Loved it.
Awesome.
Never been. I guess I'm going to say. Don't know what that one is, but their kitchen's never been so messy. But we've loved it. Sun Glory, English sparkles are finished. They're onto the red wine. What a bourgeois fleuret. Mary, this has been truly fabulous. Thank you so much. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to you. That's
awesome.
Great. Thank you guys so much. So, our steaks are resting. We've got our nice kind of warm plates out. Grab your leeks out of the oven, and like, hopefully you can see mine. You should have a little bit of coloration on those. Yeah. And we're just going to pop those. Pop those across the plate. 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 Pop those acro So those are the leeks done. Pop the baking tray to one side. We're going to grab the celeriac fondants out. Oh yeah, I forgot about those. So there's my, there you go, I don't know if you can see
Ricky
that.
says cheers.
Who says cheers?
Ricky.
Cheers, Ricky. Chin chin. I guess I better drink. So,
Yeah, perfect. Really good.
so we've got our celeriac fondants here. There's the one that I like, busked. Can you hear me yet? I keep getting paranoid that I'm trading.
We've got you. We've got you.
Cool. So let me grab a fork. So you see all this juice, like this beautiful like juice from the fondant, like whether you put a stock cube or thyme or garlic or whatever in there, like this you can keep, especially with your trim for the celeriac. This is going to make a delicious celeriac puree. So if you decide tomorrow you want to make a celeriac puree, stick your celeriac trimmings into a pan with cold water, bring up to boil, drain them, then add this juice, reduce it down a little bit, blend it, and it will be delicious. But if you can see there's my garlic. Let's not let that go to waste. So we've got 2 of those. We'll put those on the plates. And then we're going to do 2 of these celeriac fondants for each plate. Hopefully you guys are with me. I should probably have put this one down because it's not the nicest, but there we go. Okay, so the celeriac fondants are there. Actually, I'm just going to get rid of that. Now, I'll deal with that in a bit. Okay. And if you grab your horseradish creme fraiche out the fridge, I'm slightly stalling for time at the moment because the longer that these steaks rest, the more delicious that they'll be. I reckon we're getting on for 5 minutes. Yeah, we're getting on for 5 minutes. So, with your nice warm plates, they should be good. If you're worried about it, you can stick them back in the oven for a bit, but I'm happy with mine. I'm going to get my sharpest knife, and for this I am going to use this incredibly posh knife that I don't deserve at all. I'm going to make sure it's nice and clean. Wow, it's just ripped up my sponge because it's so sharp. Okay, so get your sharpest knife. And get your board and choose the bit of your board that you didn't put your raw meat on. I mean, it doesn't matter too much, especially if you've got the meat from us. It's organic meat from Harvey's, so it's like, I mean, you could eat it raw and it would not matter. Okay. So you've got your horseradish creme fraiche, you've got your leeks, roasted leeks on there, and the celeriac fondants. So I'm actually just going to move those back for now. And I reckon I've like stalled enough that my steaks are going to be perfect. Yeah, so they feel pretty good. Okay, so get those onto your board. And where you were resting them, you will find there's a fair amount of this like buttery goodness, let's say. So just take a little bit of that. You don't want loads because you don't want to make your meal really greasy. Just take a little bit of that and run it around the rim of your plate. That will
Was the
make it
fish
really
from
delicious.
Howard's?
The fish was from Howard's, yeah. Someone asked that specifically.
Yeah, someone asking that.
Yeah, the fish is from Howard's, absolutely. So, you know, at Woolf and Social we use all kind of small family-run businesses like Harvey's, Howard's, Easter's, and you know, and generally we get the kind of the best we can out of them. Okay, so if we're ready, this is it. Thank you very much for joining us. This is like the money shot, as it were. So we're going to do it. So get your sharpest knife and at an angle, just cut into your beautiful, rare steak. The thinner you cut it, the less work the diner's got to do. So, as thin as you like it. And if you did what I did at the start and sort of crisped up the fat, your diner's not going to even necessarily need a knife. Do you know what I mean? So, I'm just going to do this a little bit more quickly because you're probably a bit sick of me by now. I certainly am. So let's cut our steak. And then we're going to make it look pretty because it's Valentine's Day. Let me just show you how it's cooked. Look at that. Shall I hold it up to here?
Yeah, you can see it, yeah.
Yeah, so you can see it's like glassy in the
further away
middle,
from you.
nice and pink. So yeah,
A bit further away from you. Yeah,
okay.
we can
So it's like glassy in the middle, and nice and pink around the edge, and then you've got this nice kind of almost crisp edge to it. Okay, so let's pop that on the plate. I'm going to do this very quickly. I don't expect you to do it as quickly, but I'm going to very quickly do the next one so that I can show you the final little flourish to get it plated, and then you guys can enjoy your night, eat some meat, have a drink, get loving on some Chardonnay. Okay, there we go. So let's pop that one on there. And I don't know if you remember, but we've got a few chives left over. Just going to pop those across the top. And a spoon for the horseradish creme fraiche. I mean, you can put the whole bowl on the side because, to be honest, once you've tasted that, you're going to want some more. But put a little spoonful on the side. And there we go. Boom. So, you've had your starter, you've had your champagne classic cocktail. This is your main. I've shown you how to plate the granita. We're on this one.
You're on the main one, yeah?
Yeah, so I've shown you how to plate the granita, I've shown you how to plate the dessert. The rest of it's in your hands. Like, if you don't serve this and like have a great night and have a good drink and, you know, whatever else, then you failed. So, but yeah, I just want to thank everyone so much for joining us. This has been amazing. Happy Year of the Ox. And yeah, that's it. I'll be online for like the next sort of 20 minutes, half an hour. So if you've got any other questions or anything like that, you want to ask anything, ask me. If not, just like enjoy yourself, enjoy each other, have a nice time. And thanks so much for your support. We really appreciate it, especially at this time. Thank you so much. Cheers. Bye-bye.